Gun Runner reaching for the wire. Collected alongside. And then comes West Coast and War Story. But Gun Runner's on top of the world. He wins the Breeders' Cup Classic.
In 2017, Gun Runner punctuated his Horse of the Year campaign with a dominant victory in the Breeders' Cup Classic. This year, the World Championships return to the Seaside Oval, and the biggest names in the sport have assembled at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. Who will rise to the occasion and emerge as this year's definitive star? TVG brings you all the action as the competitors and their connections make their final preparations for the biggest weekend of the year. Welcome to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
The Breeders' Cup is about daring to be great. And if you're going to be great in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, She Dares the Devil has to get through Latruska. Then there is Following Sea, trying to pull off a upset in the Qatar Racing Breeders' Cup Sprint. These are just a couple of the horses that you will see on today's edition of Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Welcome to the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. On behalf of TVG, I'm Todd Schrupp. Yesterday, they drew post positions right in the paddock on the other side of the grandstand here for all 14 championship races. It was a glorious evening, as it was Del Mar at its finest. 2 hours away from Del Mar hosting the Breeders' Cup World Championships for the second time. Joining me on our set just off the turf course here at Del Mar, very pleased to have with us Caton Bradar, who did a wonderful job in Louisville, Kentucky at Churchill Downs, and Simon Bray, obviously, who has been with us all week here on site at Del Mar. Caton, I want to start with you. In the Breeders' Cup Classic, the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, a field of 9 draws in there. You had been with Brad Cox all week. He's got 2 of the main contenders in Essential Quality and Knicks Go. I thought everyone kind of got a post position they could be happy with. What do you think about the Cox horses in there?
Well, as you know, I'm far from unbiased in this regard.
Yes, yeah. Her husband is jockey agent for Florent Giroux.
So the conversation was, wow, everything is great. It was exactly kind of how we hoped it would unfold for almost all the Cox horses. And I think Brad had to be feeling very good when the draw was over. But particularly, I guess you could argue that no trainer necessarily wants their horses to be side by side in the starting gate, right, because if something happens to one, it may impact the other. But aside from that issue, and given the fact that the horses have slightly different running styles, I think it was absolutely perfect.
And we're looking at Essential Quality out here in California. Apparently you guys were on the same flight. And Brad Cox standing by. Simon, as we get to this point.
We were not.
Okay, all right.
He went through Delta. He went through Atlanta. I went through Chicago.
Yeah, you didn't fly FedEx? Simon, from a trainer's perspective, can Brad Cox breathe easy, or over these 72 hours, are you still anxious?
Oh, no, it's the worst 72 hours. Now, you've got the heavy lifting out of the way, all the work, but now you're coming into a new environment. Look, this horse is shipped around. Yeah, I understand that. He's a true pro, but anytime a horse comes into a new environment for the first day, they're usually up on their toes. They're excited. They've had a day off. They've shipped. But he looks tremendous. I mean, look at him. We've talked and raved about him all week long, physically how he looks. Not only the way he's been working, but just from a physical presence. He's really developed. He's put on weight in all the right places, and he's just starting to fill out. I think he's a horse that's actually improving in the latter half of the year here, and makes a tremendous appearance. Looks like he's only jogging. He's got what we talked about, those bell boots on yesterday on his front feet. And he's just jogging and probably going through a vet inspection. He
is going to jog. And, I did reach out to Brad earlier today to ask what the schedule was going to be, and it was kind of a work in progress. But originally the plan was for him to jog after the break. And then he just texted me literally and said, I'm calling an audible. I'm going to jog right now. And that has kind of been the theme for Essential Quality. He typically trains first thing in the morning. Brad likes to get him out with the first set when the track opens in Kentucky at 5:30. So I think they like it when it's quieter and when it's a little darker. That's his custom. And I think that's a sign that the horse settled in off of his ship last night in great order, the fact that they are sending him earlier rather than later.
Here is the post position order for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, the biggest race of the 2 days. Essential Quality is the second choice in the morning line at 3-1, drawing post position 4. Right next to him is his stablemate, Knicks Go, who is the morning line favorite at 5-2. And this race is going to be affected by Knicks Go for everybody in here, because we know he's the horse going to the lead. All the other horsemen in the race have conceded that. Is the middle of the field a good spot for Knicks Go?
Oh, I think it's perfect. I think you don't want to be down on the inside where your hand is forced, and if something happens, you're really up against it. When you're far outside, maybe that's not a bad situation to be in, but at the same time, you do have to work and be at the mercy of whatever happens to your inside.
Right, and the thing about the 1.25 mile here, they've got that long run down the front side to establish position. But as Bill Mott said yesterday, I think everyone's conceded the lead to Nick's go, so we expect to see him in front, barring any unforeseen incident at the gate.
And we're going to see all of our foreign entrants today, most of them coming out onto the track. Very excited to see the Europeans that are out here, along with what Aidan O'Brien brings to it, one of the great spectacles in the morning at the Breeders' Cup. Covering it all for us, Michelle Yu on site here at Del Mar, along with, how about Mike Joyce, the TikTok sensation, along with Christina Blacker. Love their dance numbers. We got Joaquin Jaime here, and then very special guest joining us here for the last few days of the works, Rishi Prasad. If you follow him on the BBC, he's one of the most trusted names in all of sports. He goes to Augusta to cover the Masters. He's one of the few reporters there in Butler Cabot. He's covered Wimbledon. He's covered the World Snooker Championship. He's covered Olympics. He's covered Cricket World Cup. He's also nominated this year for Horse Racing Media Broadcaster of the Year, talking about the amazing Rishi Prasad. He's
wow.
Yeah.
Anything else?
He's standing next to Scott Hazelton. Let's start with Joaquin Jaime.
Hey, Todd and Simon, good morning to you guys here. Yes, we were talking yesterday at the top of the show how you can really start to feel that heightened excitement here when you really have these big barns that are starting to ship into the host track here at Del Mar. But I think that also applies for other barns as well, especially ones that are going to have a big following. And that applies for California Angel. She's right over my right shoulder here. She just got in late last night from her base at Indiana Grand, and she is going to be competing on Friday in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. And coming up later on, we're going to tell you more on her trainer story, and that is George Leonard III. Also, this year marks the 20th anniversary of Tiznow winning the 2001 Breeders' Cup Classic. We will revisit that as well and hear the memories from Tiznow's trainer, Jay Robbins, in addition to his Hall of Fame rider, Chris McCarron, and see what they remember from the 2001 Breeders' Cup Classic at Belmont Park. Right now, let's send you to Scott and Rishi.
Rishi, I didn't know you did all that. Where you been hiding?
It's a lot of pressure on me now. I hope I don't let anyone down. It's a joy to be here, be alongside you again, Scott. We've shared some international times, but it's nice to be on your turf.
Yeah, it's great to be here, and we've got a lot to cover this morning. A lot of international horses going to be going out on the track in the coming minutes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the star international names, particularly the horses that won at Keeneland that are coming back to try and defend their crown, the likes of Tarnawa, Daria, and Glass Slippers. But I'm also looking forward to seeing the Charlie Appleby horses. I think he's got 3 races, obviously 2 contenders in each of those races, and really strong chances.
Mike, we'll be posted up here at the Quarantine Barn. We've had horses come in, come out. Japanese horses have already gone out to the track and come back, so plenty busy morning for us here this morning at Del Mar.
And Scott, the hallmark of U.S. racing, our racetracks are standardized as opposed to England, but there's nothing standard about this venue. You guys have done a great job over the first 4 days of the breakfast of the Breeders' Cup shows, showing the horses, showing the works. The reason the Breeders' Cup is here for the second time is to show you this venue. If there's a more beautiful one in racing, I have yet to see it. So we're high above the grandstand here on the rooftop. And Michelle, you can see right over my shoulder here at the breakfast marquee. It's been open for a couple of days, but Michelle, it's just starting to really get hopping today.
If I waved you, Mike, maybe you can see me from over here. I'll have a hot cup of coffee waiting for you for when you come down from the roof. That's right. I'm at the breakfast marquee, and like you said, it is starting to get busy. In fact, it opened up under the cover of darkness, and already people were starting to pour in. It won't get really popping until midway through the morning when a lot of the barns are done for the a.m. But already this morning, I saw Jeff Bloom. I saw Elliot Walden of Windstar. Barbara Banke was sitting right behind me having a cup of coffee. So this is definitely a place to find the who's who of horse racing, and I'm sure between all of us reporters roving on the grounds, we will be able to find plenty of people to talk to here at the breakfast marquee. I mean, Mike, you think your view is good? Check out the view we have right here. We are up close and personal with all of these horses as they go by at the top of the stretch. Christina, where might you be today? I hope it's above 4 legs.
It will be eventually, Michelle. I'm on the ground for now, going to see if we can't hustle up a couple of interviews to start. But just wanted to let everyone know that this is the last day for all of the arrivals. To my knowledge, and I've checked in with the racing office here, all of our Breeders' Cup horses are on the grounds. The deadline is today at 11 a.m. for horses running on Friday and Saturday. So even though some of those vans arrived very late last night, the Kentucky van pulled in about 10:01 p.m. Pacific time. The last van from Santa Anita came down in the afternoon. They were here at about 4 o'clock. So we are all here and just counting down these last few days before the Breeders' Cup. And Todd and Simon, I am going to jump aboard the pony at some point, and I'm going to fall into line with Aidan's Army. I'll keep a distance, but I want to know what it feels like to follow them around the racetrack because, as you say, it's one of the spectacles of the Breeders' Cup every year.
Yeah, stay tuned over the course of the show. When that comes out, everybody stops to watch. If you've never seen it before, you have to check it out, and you'll see it here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Just happening moments ago, Marsh Lorraine finishing up her final major work leading up to the Breeders' Cup distaff. A huge long shot for Japan, but good to see not only the record number of foreign entrants in the Breeders' Cup, but Japan is at an all-time high with horses that they've brought here.
Yeah, they have. I mean, this is the record numbers for them. Look, I don't think this is one of their strongest contenders here. I think you look to the Love's Only You a little later on in the filly mare turf. But Marsh Lorraine, she's going about her business this morning. She'll be in the distaff. She drew post position 10. Ocean Murphy, recent crowned champion British jockey, will be aboard her this weekend.
Kate, it's Simon's been telling us a lot about the different equipment we see in the mornings. It's something very different with these Japanese-based horses.
To be sure, and to see a horse blowing out this strongly, she actually turns in a time, I think, of 37 and change, which this is a little bit unusual. We don't typically see our horses from North America blowing out so close to a race or that type of a move. And I would say that this is actually a pretty strong move for her. And given what I've seen, she's coming into the race in good order, good fashion. But it is such a tough race.
A very tough race. I think she's a little overmatched. She didn't switch leads there. She finally jumped to her right lead. But yeah, that old school move, you'd see it in the United States years ago. A long time.
Risen Star before the Belmont went 3 furlongs in 33 and 3 days before the race, and he won.
It just doesn't happen nowadays.
No.
People are too worried about something happening to the horse right on top of the race.
Once again, Scott and Rishi.
Yeah, Todd, Simon, Kate, and we're back here in the gap with the Charlie Appleby set and looking at some key contenders. Space Blues out in front, leading the way, the favorite for the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile. But Al Baha, saddlecloth number 800, Rishi, on his toes with who's aboard Al Baha?
One of the greats of the game, Kieran Fallon, of course, a Breeders' Cup winning jockey himself, champion jockey in Britain on numerous occasions. A man who's fulfilled many different roles in the sport of horse racing, but at the moment he's a key component of Charlie Appleby's training team. He has been riding Al Baha at home all year long. He flew to Woodbine with Al Baha when Al Baha won that Grade 1 earlier in the year, and he's been charged with preparing Al Baha here. One of 6 horses going out for Charlie Appleby. I was talking to Kieran Fallon yesterday about Al Baha in comparison to Modern Games, because I really like Modern Games for the juvenile turf, and Kieran Fallon was saying don't underestimate this horse. He shows very little at home, but he is one tough little horse.
Al Baha, the number 2 horse in the Breeders' Cup juvenile turf with Charlie Appleby. Frankie Dettori will ride, has won his last 4 starts between Haydock and Salisbury and that Grade 1 win at the Summer Stakes up at Woodbine. So part of the year that Charlie's had here, Todd, Simon, and Caton, where he has just picked up so many Grade 1s in North America. So we'll get a good look at them, and we'll get back to the quarantine barn and hopefully get a chance to get a reaction from Charlie Appleby.
Who's got a better 7-iron, Kieran Fallon or Rishi Purcell? That's a story for another day. Maybe Rishi can touch on that later.
Well, I will say this, at least Al Baha here got a decent post-position draw. What was fascinating from yesterday, Caton, there weren't a lot of races where I thought, oh, that's a bad drop. But in these bigger fields on the turf, for example, with the juvenile turf, you had 2 of your best horses, the 2 morning line choices, Modern Games drawing the rail, and then Dubois Legend drawing post position 14. That's going to be tough to overcome.
Post position is really going to come into play for the turf races, to be sure. And it'll be interesting because, of course, the last time we were here at Del Mar, the Europeans certainly had the upper hand in all our turf races.
Yeah, no, quite. All the shippers, really. There were only 2 locally based horses that won that in that Breeders' Cup year.
Looking at Space Blues, who drew post position 3 for the FanDuel mile presented by the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund. His last race, if that's repeated here, he's the horse to beat in my mind.
Oh, no question. He's a really, really good horse. I mean, he performed on heavy ground last time out, 7 furlongs. I think he'll appreciate the firmer ground and the mile trip here. He's a massive threat in the mile.
The sun is rising, but the stars are out at the Breeders' Cup. We'll be back with more on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup right after this.
Tomorrow, live from Del Mar, TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup continues. Expert analysis of top contenders prepare for the Breeders' Cup World Championships. TVG's daily live coverage continues tomorrow morning, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Friday, all the action begins on the TVG Breeders' Cup Players Show. In-depth analysis and handicapping angles of the 14-race 2-day Breeders' Cup card. The Future Stars Friday edition of the TVG Breeders' Cup Players Show. Noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
You know this type of place. You might even work in one. Hot, sweaty, uncomfortable. But it doesn't have to be that way. Big-ass fans keep you cool, comfortable, and productive in any type of space. So no matter where you are, think big. Get cool.
In the Longines Breeders' Cup turf. Tarnawa's closing on the outside. Not today for Mogul. Here comes Tarnawa, storming down the center of the course to take the lead. And Tarnawa, the filly, has won the turf.
Well, as we've expected over the course of these decades at the Breeders' Cup, Rishi, there's a lot of European involvement. But if you were to point to one star, it has to be Tarnawa, correct?
It is Tarnawa. She has been an outstanding racemare already, of course, winning at Keeneland last year, but also re-emphasising just what a talented performer she is this season. Yes, she suffered a couple of defeats in Ireland in the Irish Champion Stakes and in the Arc, but boy, she ran 2 huge races against St Mark's Basilica, who Aidan O'Brien says might be one of the best horses ever trained. And then in the Arc, she was just a little bit unfortunate that she had to go and chase Hurricane Lane and Adayar, and in the end it left her a little bit vulnerable until Tasso came and beat her in the end. But she is a mighty horse. She's the leader of the pack for the Europeans, I think.
Dermot Weld, there was a point in time where he was maybe considering running in the filly and mare turf. I'd read in reports, but obviously looking to defend his title now as they've fully committed to the Breeders' Cup turf. Different conditions, Keeneland in Lexington this time of the year versus Del Mar. Should we have any concern with that?
It's only the track that I'd be slightly concerned about, because it's obviously a very different track, as you know better than I do. The nature of Keeneland allows you a little bit more room in the straight as opposed to here, a little bit more time to get the job done in the straight, whereas Del Mar, you turn in and you're too far behind, the game's almost over, unless you are an absolute flying machine. But the good thing about Tarnawa is that she's so battle-hardened and experienced. However, she's still relatively fresh this season. So she started off late because the Arc was the very big target, so she didn't really have too many hard races in the early part of the year. So there's a little bit of room, you think, for her to have a little bit more enthusiasm at this time of the year than perhaps in a normal season where she'd been campaigned starting, say, in May through to the end of the year. So I think that, you know, if she acts on the track as well as we think she will, she'll be fine.
looking at other European invaders, I think we obviously gravitate straight towards Aidan O'Brien, and I think Love the filly would be the one that we would point towards as he looks for his 7th Breeders' Cup Turf. He's won with a filly in the past, did so with Found at Keeneland back in 2015. First of all, is she the same? And maybe can this turf course move her forward with the quickness of it?
The ground she will love, no doubt about it, because she enjoys fast ground. When she won at Royal Ascot this year, the Prince of Wales Stakes, she was winning on fast ground, and she bounced off the ground on that occasion, and I think that will be in her favour. But you asked the question, Scott, is she as good a filly this season as she was last year? The evidence is no. However, it's possible that she might just have been exposed against the good colts this year, where she didn't really have that challenge in her 3-year-old career, taking on the fillies constantly and winning by wide margins, and she's just not quite come up to the level that perhaps we expected, and therefore she's a little bit vulnerable by the usual Aidan O'Brien standards.
Mike Joyce, we're going to keep an eye on these horses out here. Charlie Appleby's just about 10 yards to our left, so we'll keep an eye on these horses as they are out here for this morning bit of work for their jogs and what have you out on the grass course. But back to Tarnawa, Mike, she is an absolute star, and we're very pleased to have her back here to defend her title in the Longines Breeders' Cup Turf.
No, we certainly are, and part of every horse's routine is a stop in the receiving barn. I'm outside the receiving barn here at Del Mar. You know, I've been coming here for 20 years. I've never actually stepped foot inside the receiving barn, but since I'm on your show that you guys have been going everywhere, I'm just going to assume I'm allowed in here. And when you walk in, they're cooling horses out, and then, oh, lo and behold, here's 2-time Kentucky Derby winning trainer Doug O'Neill standing by, and he looks hard at work, but I'm going to disturb him anyway. Doug, what you up to?
That wasn't a cartoon. I was not watching a cartoon. It was already on there. Know what that was.
That singing and dancing frog, though, gets me every time.
Yeah.
Speaking about singing and dancing, you'll be singing and dancing if both your charges in the Breeders' Cup McKinnon and, of course, Hot Rod Charlie find the winner's circle. What's the plan for this morning? I know all the major work is done, but we're just 72 hours away from the first day of the Breeders' Cup. So where are we at with the O'Neill barn?
We're at just a routine gallop at 7:45, and Johnny will be on Hot Rod Charlie, and Amir will be on McKinnon, and yeah, both rested well last night, ate up well, and so far so good.
Draw was a big thing yesterday. We did a whole show about it, so these things must be important. Oftentimes they don't make a difference. Was there anything to take of it for your two runners?
You know, I think the grass race, you don't want to be on the rail or way outside. So the 6-hole is perfect for McKinnon and Eric's number 6. So some good omen there, too. Eric Johnson, they won on. So that was good. But yeah, I think in the Classic, you got such a long run to the first turn that probably any of the 9 really, it would be just fine. And but we're extremely happy that we're in the field and we got number 3.
Okay, well, thank you for your time. I know you're busy. I'll let you get back to your Looney Tunes.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And let's go to Michelle Yu now, who's standing by with a very special guest.
Thanks so much, Mike. I'm joined right now by Will Farmer, who is the Breeders' Cup advisory veterinarian. They've got a whole team here. Will, tell us what's going on to make the Breeders' Cup really the forefront of safety in horse racing.
Yeah, so Breeders' Cup obviously takes the integrity of their races very, very serious. And so part of that is the veterinary procedures that we have put in place to keep our horses as safe as possible. We have a crew of about 14 veterinarians who have come in from all over the country. We try to get veterinarians here from all the major racing jurisdictions. So it's a friendly face for the trainers. They see regulatory veterinarians that they're used to seeing on a normal day. But it allows us to have a large team so that we can spread out across the property. We examine horses in the barns in the morning. We're also, for our second year in a row, we are doing trot-up exams on the racetrack where we get to watch the horses under tack with a rider up, and just to see how they're traveling across the surface. It gives us a little bit more insight into how those horses are moving.
Why does it make a difference to watch the horse both without a rider and with a rider?
Yeah, so, you know, a rider weighs 100 to 125 pounds, and so that changes. That's 10% of a horse's body weight. So that changes the way that they move. Obviously, it helps us replicate a little bit of what the horse looks like on race day. And so when the jockey's on the back and we're out on the racetrack, we kind of have an expectation of what that horse should look like.
When you're looking at a horse and they're we say jogging for the vet. Actually, we saw Essential Quality jogging for the vet this morning. What is the vet looking for specifically to indicate this horse might not be 100%?
Yeah, so what we watch for are signals of lameness. So we look for hip hikes, head nods, things that could signal to us that the horse has got some type of an issue that needs to be dealt with, or at least a concern addressed. Whether that we start with the trainer, have a conversation. If we need to move forward to diagnostics, we can certainly do that. If we need to request an X-ray, ultrasound, things that would be appropriate for whatever condition we find.
Now, yesterday we saw Ain't Easy ended up not being entered in the juvenile fillies because she just wasn't jogging, as Phil said, as smooth as a gazelle like she normally does. Obviously, horses are living, breathing animals. Sometimes I wake up out of bed and I, can't walk with both of my feet at one time. At what point, since you guys look at these horses so much, do you decide this is something we need to talk about with the trainer, or this is just how this horse goes?
Yeah, so we start with, our baseline exam the very first day that when we see them, it really helps us give us, that baseline. So we know where to start from there. We certainly recognize every horse does not move the same. We all walk differently. Horses travel differently. So we have to kind of get that baseline to figure out where to start. And then as things either arise and we see something that changes throughout the week, we address it as soon as possible. And if we start at a point where we're concerned right off the bat, we can at least have the conversation with the trainers at that point.
And I know you wanted to mention something that Breeders' Cup's doing this year that's never been done before.
Correct. So we start our out-of-competition testing program where we are looking for medications of concern, so doping-type medications. We start that program in June, and we are testing probable horses that appear to be pointed towards Breeders' Cup. And this year, for the first time for Breeders' Cup, we are going to be going through the barnyard this morning, and all horses that entered yesterday for the championships will have out-of-competition or pre-competition testing done today.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Will, for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Guys?
A huge undertaking and a very important one. Great credit to the Breeders' Cup, as this is a safety program and that vet program that continues to evolve each year. Looking out on the Jimmy Durante turf course here at Del Mar, it is the contingent trained by Charles Appleby. A number of horses out here, including Space Blues, as we were showing you going to the break, preparing for the mile. And there's a look at Space Blues.
Yeah, he's in front. He's leading the group here. And these horses are just getting a feel for the track. They'll go once around, probably just gallop, and they've both got, polo bandages on, first day of exercise. But this is typical of European horses. If you're not familiar, we reference Aidan's Army. They usually come out in sets, not sets of 2, 3, or 4. Back home, sets of 20, 30, 40, 50 horses. So and they usually, get trained like this in Indian file. So I think they make a good appearance here. All well presented, they look tremendous.
And when we talk about trainers here in the United States, Scott and Rishi, we talk about their unique approaches, and not every trainer is the same. As we talked about, we'll see Aidan O'Brien's contingent coming out later. How would you describe Charles Appleby as a trainer?
Wow, what a question. He has been arguably the most improved trainer. I'd go so far as to saying internationally over the last decade or so, since he took over in the role as the principal trainer at Moulton Paddocks. It's been the most remarkable progress from when he first started, and he had the first Group 1 winner with Charming Thought in the Middle Park Stakes. The success this season has highlighted the work that he's put in constantly over and over, year upon year, and what he's done with his horses this season has been specific targets, the likes of Adayar, Hurricane Lane, the 3-year-olds, the younger horses as well coming through. The 2-year-olds suggest that what he's got in place is a system, not only for the talented horses already achieving quite a lot in the top Group 1 and Grade 1 races internationally, whether it's in Canada, North America or in Europe, but he's also got the next generation ready to come through with the likes of Native Trail and Caribus, plus the horses that are here, the likes of Modern Gains and Al Baha. It's such a vibrant team that he's got at the moment from top to bottom, with strength and depth. It reminds me of when Aidan O'Brien's team, which this year by their own standards slightly below par, you would say, but still very good, but Charlie Appleby is as vibrant as Aidan O'Brien's team has ever been. I think he's potentially going to be around at the top for a very, very long time.
What do you think has led to this sort of shift to where we're at right now with having this kind of team that he has here at Del Mar?
I've got to be honest, I think the big thing is Galileo. Galileo has been the dominant sire in Europe. Galileo, I think, obviously is one of the leading sires of the Breeders' Cup, even though obviously his horses don't go on dirt, but on turf. And Galileo, as he's got older, his influence has just waned a little bit. Obviously, sadly, he passed away this year, and other stallions now are coming to the fore, whether it's a Dubawi, a Frankel, a Sea the Stars, other stallions that are now available to the Sheikh Mohammed team, the Godolphin team. Of course, the Galileo horses weren't at one point because of a disagreement or a situation that didn't go their way.
Correct.
But that changed. And since that changed, I think that has certainly contributed to Charlie Appleby's success.
It was just a couple of seasons ago, I believe we were in Dubai or Royal Ascot, and you were discussing the shift and what they needed to get back to for Godolphin. It wasn't about going out to auction, buying horses, but keeping it in-house and making it what it is meant to be. Have we seen that? Is that another reason for it? Is that what you're trying to explain in discussing now having accessibility to horses like Dubai, or the fact that the shift away from Godolphin, or are we still, or excuse me, Galileo, are we still in that process?
I think the process is almost to the end of its tenure, because the way that Galileo, his influence has been, it's if you weren't into the Galileo bloodlines, you were going to struggle in turf races. It was as simple as that. Dubai, of course, has come along, and he was a huge success, and he has been a brilliant stallion, one of the best in the world, and obviously Godolphin have had access to that. But now that Godolphin had the access to the Galileo horses, they were able to enjoy the success on turf that Coolmore dominated with for so many years. And I think it's now to the point where you'd have to say Charlie Appleby is up and above them.
Todd, Simon, Caton, it truly is an interesting shift, and something that I think that obviously we see here this week at Del Mar for these World Championships, but sounds like we're going to be seeing for quite a long time moving forward with the boys in blue.
And this happens, obviously, here in the United States. Some operations scale down, some change their approaches, new trainers come in. The rise of Brad Cox, I think, is one of those things that's happened here in the United States in the horses he's attracted, both for Godolphin, for Juddmonte. So this happens. It's the cyclical nature of the sport.
Right, there's no question about that. And Charlie Appleby, I mean, Mauricio, correct me later if I'm wrong, but to the best of my knowledge, he's a guy that came from very humble beginnings. He wasn't born into the sport, as we like to say. He worked his way up from the bottom. I mean, he got the advantage, he got the position at Godolphin to the unfortunate circumstances with Mahmoud Al-Zaruni, and he's run with it. And that rift between Coolmore and Godolphin being put aside, as Richie perfectly explained has led to a lot of their success recently.
The Breeders' Cup brings the best in the world together over 2 championship days. The same is true for horse players with the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. Prove you are one of the best horse players in the world. It is the tournament for those who play tournaments, especially live bankroll. It's the defining tournament that all those players want to win, and you can still participate. Sign up through breederscup.com/BCBC. It's a $10,000 buy-in, $7,500 of which goes to your betting bankroll, $2,500 to the prize pool. So with an estimated 400 participants, that would be a prize pool of $1 million. Speaking of the best, TVG is the leader in advanced deposit wagering, and we've got the best offer out there over the 2 days of the Breeders' Cup on Friday, November 5th and Saturday, November 6th. It is the money back special. Opt in now at tvg.com. We have more breakfast at the Breeders' Cup from the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club when we return. But just a reminder of the glorious surroundings that we have here, where the turf meets the surf.
With the TVG app, get expert analysis and free handicapping advice from here. Place a bet in just a few simple taps from here. And even stream races live from here. Access, analysis, and action from anywhere. Download today and get a $300 risk-free bet on the Breeders' Cup. TVG. Onto the app. Off to the races.
It's a Motown, the son of Uncle Mo, to win the Remsen.
Motown flying, Motown will win a Thriller, Motown to win it, and Motown has won the Hollywood Derby.
There's something about when you get up early, prep the plane, and you take off, and you get that first light of day, and the air is crystal smooth. You can see forever. You have to have the right aircraft for the right flight with the right crew up front. Only NetJets can do this. The flight dissolves into the background. It should just be the here and now.
in the United Nations. Fantastic is sent hard to take the lead. Fantastic has been there every step of the way. Fantastic shakes loose with a quarter of a mile to go. He's in front by 2 lengths, but it is Fantastic to take up coast to coast in the United Nations.
155 and in the back, 150,000. Jody, thank you.
Fantastic, standing at 3 Chimneys.
Breeders' Cup apparel and products represent everything the Breeders' Cup stands for. Handcrafted, expertly designed. Own a piece of the events that defines an industry. Available at breederscupshop.com.
I've been on social media, a lot of people talking about horses they want to see. I am in the Mandela barn right now. United is a very popular horse. I'm going to flag him down. Ho back, United. I heard he loves peppermints, and I get to give him one. Here you go, buddy. Thanks. Keep them coming, guys. What horses do you want to see up close and personal here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup?
You're in the Mandela barn. I'm with Mark Casse. You're like 10 feet away from us. We're in the same side of the backstretch. So Mark's got 5 running this weekend. 4 of them are 2-year-olds. 3 of them drew next to each other, which we'll talk about in a second. But let's talk about Papa Cap. He's saddled, ready to go for a routine gallop. What's the plan? I mean, I think everyone has the same plan at this point, but just give us some insight.
Well, he's going to go, actually, he's going to go gallop, and he's going to go to the gate and stand. We kind of like to do that, stand back out. Just like him to be calm in there so they know it's not all rushy. The horses break better when they're settled in there. So he's just going. It's a common. We do it all the time.
Hope Springs Eternal with a talented 2-year-old. You've got 4 this weekend. So Papa Cap, he'll be running on the main track here. And then your 3 turf juveniles all drew next to each other. I didn't realize that until you just told me in the tack room. So, I mean, and they're all on the outside. It wasn't ideal, but it is what it is.
You know, I've had the worst luck with draws. I think twice now I've come here with fillies that were supposed to be favored in the turf mile and drew the 14 hole. So I was kidding yesterday morning, and I said, well, the worst I can be is 12, 13, and 14. So instead we're 11, 12, and 13. So I don't know. You know, in these juvenile races, you need some luck, and you never know where it's going to come from. So we do have some speed. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot right inside of us, so maybe we'll be able to get over. But you need some luck.
So I'm going to ask you about Grafton Street because it works for television, because he's literally standing right here. I'm going to have the nose, my cameraman, get a look at him. And I heard you just saying he looks like another superstar from your barn, right?
He is. He looks like, when you go there, he looks like War Will. Of course, he's by Warfront. There's a lot of similarities there, too. He's a lot of Warfronts tend to be a little on the shorter side. This horse, he's a bigger, taller horse. He's lacking some experience, but he's got a lot of ability,
Well, he has experience on the turf. He has experience at 2 turns. You just got to put those 2 together now on Friday.
Yeah, I think, you know what, every race has been a little better. I ran him last time on the Tapeta just to get a 2-turn race into him. He had a tremendous work up at Woodbine the other day, exceptional. They've been raving about him up there. The clockers have said they've not seen anything like him. So he could be a bit of a surprise.
All right, well, we're going to keep an eye out for Papa Cap coming back onto the track. He'll be galloping right after the break. We're about 5 minutes away from that.
You know, there's another part to the Breeders' Cup World Championships, and that is horses getting to the end of their career, and you get very sentimental. Got Stormy has been a remarkable mare for Mark Casse.
You know, it was really something to watch. Of course, Mark's assistant, David Carroll, David's wife, Kim Carroll, and their son, Declan, have been intrinsically involved with her over the last few years as well. And I watched as Kim walked her back off the racetrack at Churchill for the last time that she trained there before she was preparing to ship. And Kim, as she walked off the track, they took the long way off the track, as they are prone to do. And she said, "That's a wrap."
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so much emotion that's tied into her as well. She was very relaxed, but the one thing I'll say about the entire team there, they have all said very quietly that she's training as good as she has ever trained going into this. That is not to say that they necessarily know whether that's good enough to win, particularly at this stage of her career and life, but they feel very confident that she is going into it in a very positive manner, and that's all you can ask for. And her workout on that track was very, very good. It was better than her previous workouts going into this. She looked a very happy horse when she came off the racetrack that day, and she came out of the work in good shape.
I mean, we're lucky to have her just training, because she was sold. The original owner, Gary Barber, had her. He put her through a sale. At that point in a horse's career, especially being a female with her credentials, she would have been off to the breeding shed. My racehorse, the late B. Wayne Hughes, bought her and put her back into training. Treat for us all that she stuck around.
6-year-old got Stormy going in the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile presented by Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund, and calling it a career after that performance. A horse that we are privileged to see coming to the United States for the first time out on the racetrack, that is Love's Only You, going in the Maker's Mark Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf for Japan.
I mean, she's legit. This is a filly that is coming into this race with very, very good credentials. She's faced some of the best middle-distance turf horses in the world. If you just take her Dubai Shima Classic, where she ran behind Mishrif, who obviously won in Saudi for John Gosden's, one of the top horses in the world. Chronogenesis was second in there, multiple Grade 1 winner. I mean, she's very, very good. And I think of all the horses, you know, Japan, in the last 20 years, they've expanded globally. I mean, there was a big push by the JRA for horses to leave Japan, go abroad, win Grade 1 races. There was a hidden bonus that would be waiting for them on their return to Tokyo if they got that. They've won in Dubai, they've won in Europe, and now I think this is one of the best chances they have of bringing a horse to the United States. And logistically, it's always easier for them to come to the West Coast because it's travel coming from Asia into Los Angeles, so she has got a big chance.
What you had to love about that, seeing her right there, is he had a big loop in the reins.
Yes.
It looked like he was out for a trail ride. She looked as happy as a horse could be to be here.
And Simon, it seems like with the Japanese horses, they're active every morning here. There isn't a day off where they're just around the barn. They're either in the paddock over here schooling, or they're out on the racetrack.
They implement a lot of the European ways of training, and the fact they're out of their stall a lot. Here in the U.S., we tend to, get the horses out of the stall. They go to the track. They come back. They cool out. They do get out in the afternoon, but the Japanese employ European style of training. I've been there to the training center, so they'll be out of the stall for some hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning. A lot of walking before exercise, a lot of walking post-exercise.
One of the smallest fields over the 2 days at the Breeders' Cup is in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. That's because of the horse you're about to see, Gamine. She dominated the field last year, winning by more than 6 lengths, and she is the 3-5 morning line favorite, one of the shortest morning line favorites we've had in the history of the Breeders' Cup. Out early this morning here at Del Mar, Gamine.
Yeah, this is the first time we've seen it. She came down from Santa Anita, and look, she's a filly that's very, very fast. She does bear out on the turn in her races. That's normal. And Kate, a lot of people said last time out she didn't look visual as impressive, but she was battling some foot issues going into that race. I think she wore an aluminum plate during that race, if I'm not mistaken as well.
But in watching what she's done since then, and I'm not familiar with her on a day in and day out basis, I think she looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, she's carrying good flesh. She is trained in a pretty straight manner, and in that little glimpse of her on the track, I thought she seems to be handling herself in the transition pretty nicely.
I mean, she'll be the shortest price horse all weekend long, I think, by the time post-time comes.
You were hoping for an inside draw for Bella Sophia because you thought that was her best chance to give Gamine a race. That didn't happen. How does this matchup look to you now?
Well, now Bella Sophia's on the outside of Gamine. I mean, John Velasquez will probably just go, I would imagine, and let Bella Sophia come and get it, because I think Gamine's the type of filly you can't reach up and take a hold of her. She does drift out a little bit, and as you know, you've ridden horses. When you go to that move to start pulling on a horse that drifts out, where do they go? They just keep going further and further out. So I think she's just going to let her give her a head and hope for the best.
Gamine, one of the heaviest favorites of the 2 days of championship racing. We'll be back with more of all the activity here at Del Mar. It slowed down a little bit because they are taking a renovation break out on the main track, but much more to come here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup on America's Horse Racing Network, TVG.
PNC Bank believes that if a pair of goggles can help your backhand get better, then your bank should help you budget even better. Virtual Wallet is so much more than a checking account. Its low cash mode feature gives you at least 24 hours of extra time to help you avoid an overdraft fee.
You see that?
Virtual Wallet with low cash mode from PNC Bank. One way we're making a difference.
Accelerate, a 5-time Grade 1 winner with over $6 million in earnings. In 2018 alone, he won the Santa Anita Handicap, the Gold Cup, the Pacific Classic by a record-setting 12.5 lengths, the Awesome Again, and bested a world-class field in the Breeders' Cup Classic. A grandson of legendary Lanes End stallion Smart Strike, Accelerate stands to continue his grandsire's legacy at Lanes End.
At Calumet Farm, we're proud to offer proven stallions to fit every breeder's needs. With over 72 million in progeny winnings on dirt and turf, our diverse roster is producing the champions of today and tomorrow. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
With the TVG app, get expert analysis and free handicapping advice from here. Place a bet in just a few simple taps from here. And even stream races live from here. Access, analysis, and action from anywhere. Get cash back for finishing second or third on all Breeders' Cup races. TVG. Onto the app, off to the races.
A pleasure to have Charlie Appleby alongside me to talk about your 6 runners that you've brought over, Charlie, and 6 very talented horses. I imagine it's difficult for you to even decide who's the best in those 3 races, but the first thing is, how are your horses?
Yeah, delighted, thanks, Richie. They've, as we all know, it's all very well bringing some of the better horses, but if they don't ship well, then you're on the back foot from the get-go. But they've all shipped in great. Obviously, our first day out on the track, they broke quarantine there yesterday, so we came out this morning. They just had an easy cant around on the turf track, and the riders are all delighted with the way they're moving. I'm delighted with the way they look, and Marie Murphy and Chris Connaught here have been overseeing everything, and like I say, all the vital signs are good.
I'll just spin through the races if I can with you, and we'll talk about the juvenile turf. First of all, Al-Baha, a tough horse who's obviously been to Canada already and done the job, and Modern Games, who he just looks the most straightforward individual, and he looks to be progressing the way he's got better and better with every run. The last one at Newmarket looked the best of his career so far.
That's right. Modern Games will probably go off favourite. He's got a draw there in 1 there. At the end of the day, it's nice to have those draws, but you've got to make the most of it as well. You've got to hit the lids, and you know, if you fluff your lines, it's not such a good draw. But you know, he's been, as you say, progressing with each run. He brings great form to the table, and what I like about him is he travels. You know, he's a strong traveller, which is what we need round here. You've got to be able to sit up in the box and travel. So he ticks those boxes. Alba, as you mentioned there, he brings experience into the race. You know, having travelled to Woodbine there, he was slow out the gates there that day. He had the rug on. We've left the rug off this time, but he did it all the right way around. And there's one thing about him, he reminds me very similar of a Line of Duty. You know, he'd be happy if he's in amongst them, getting knocked about a bit. Yeah, and you give him a bit of, he'll get where a fag paper can get, he'll be up there and he'll be gone. So 2 lively candidates and both nice draws, which is, as we always know, key round here.
Absolutely, and also good draws with the runners in the mile on turf as well. 1 and 3 for Master of the Seas and Space Blues. I guess Space Blues is the obvious one for a lot of people because he's a classy horse. He's been a classy horse for a long time, and he travels so kindly and he settles. So is he the pick?
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, he's been an ultimate professional for his career there, and doing what he did there in the foray. It's something that races, as you all know, I've been trying to get him there for the last 3 years, and we've always just met with a setback. But he went there in great order and won very well. He's come out of the race well. He's very, as you saw, he's a neat little horse, and you mentioned there he travels. So this track is tailor-made for him, and having a draw in 3 there, you couldn't have asked for a better pitch.
I thought that the track was also tailor-made for Master of the Seas, because I thought he would travel, and if he got cover being down on the inside rail and James could hold on to him for as long as possible and allow him to use his turn of foot late on, he could perhaps surprise 1 or 2 people.
No, for sure. Yeah, at the end of the day, he's just got touched off in the Guineas by a good Guineas winner, and that was on quick ground, and he ran a lovely race in the Joel there, and I'm pleased with the way he came forward. The reason we took him Champions Day was that I didn't want him, you saw him out on the track, he's a bit of a boy, and I didn't want to not get another run into him, and the ground conditions weren't to suit him there on Champions Day, but as you say, Richie, they'll go a good gallop, and that's what he needs. He needs a real fast gallop, and he can just box seat him round there, and if he's got something to aim at, it'd be a live shot for sure.
And of course, the last one in the turf, you've got 2 horses who, well, in Walton Street has been a warrior for you for a long time, and 1 horse in Yabir who's clearly improving, and the gelding operation has turned him around. Yeah,
as you say, Walton Street, he's getting the ripe old age now, but he brings a wealth of experience, more than a lot of them in the field, I'd imagine. But he's enjoying life, and again, he did what he did in Canada. It was a routine exercise more so than anything. He's probably not good enough to win round there, but he doesn't look out of place in a lineup, and he's such a simple horse to be able to jump on. James will just roll along there. He'll either be on the front end or he won't be far off the pace. Yabir, in what he's achieved so far, as you say, he's been a character. Gelded there after his first start, after being gelded, he won the Bahrain Trophy, and then we saw the old Yabir again, where he decided to half run away with William there at Goodwood, put a line through that, left the hood on then in the Great Voltager, and he went and won that, and then obviously the plan was always to go to the Belmont race there, and Jamie rode him. I have to say, if you're holding the winning ticket at halfway round, you'd have probably been sweating a bit, but he's a class horse. He's mixed it with all you've seen. His form, his 3-year-old form, is with all the best of them. He's been running against the likes of Hurricane Lane and Albar, so Adyar, sorry. So he's got to improve, but he's got the potential to do that.
Charlie, thank you very much. Good luck with all 6 runners. Great to see you here at Del Mar. Catch up with you later in the week. We're heading back to Simon and Todd.
Rishi, thank you. I thought I dropped it in a Guy Ritchie movie there for a moment. Charlie Appleby is one of the great characters, one of the greatest trainers in the world. That was absolutely brilliant. Stiletto Boy out on the track. Big long shot in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. We'll be back.
Tomorrow, live from Del Mar, TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup continues. Expert analysis of top contenders prepare for the Breeders' Cup World Championships. TVG's daily live coverage continues tomorrow morning, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Friday, all the action begins on the TVG Breeders' Cup Players Show. In-depth analysis and handicapping angles of the 14-race 2-day Breeders' Cup card. The Future Stars Friday edition of the TVG Breeders' Cup Players Show. Noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
As promised, a look at Stiletto Boy, one of the biggest long shots in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Welcome back to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. I'm Todd Trupp. seated next to Caton Bradar and Simon Bray. Full team coverage of everything going on here this morning. Just 3 days out from the first day of championship racing here for the Breeders' Cup this Friday. Medina Spirit, the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Medina Spirit, one of your favorites in here. A live look as he is out on the racetrack. Simon, you've talked about the physical development of Essential Quality. It's very apparent to everyone who's followed him throughout the year. What have we seen from Medina Spirit with his off and on year?
I think the same sort of thing. He had a little bit of a midsummer break, from the Preakness to the Shed Belief. I think that always did him well. This is the first day we've seen him. Obviously, we've charted his course this week pretty closely with our Trainers Chart segment. He worked last Friday, 3/4 of a mile, walked on Saturday, jogged up at Santa Ana with a pony on Sunday, shipped down yesterday, and this is the first look at him here on the track with assistant trainer Jimmy Barnes. But, he has definitely filled out as well as the year has gone on, but different type of looking individual to Essential Quality.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's almost a counter opposite as far as the tall, lanky type of horse that is the frame of Essential Quality versus a much smaller build of Medina Spirit. It's not that he's a tiny horse.
No.
He's just sort of more average in terms of his stature, but he has filled out quite a lot since the Triple Crown races, which is the last time I saw him in person. And you can see he's very well balanced from the front quarters to the hind quarters. And to me, Simon, it looks like that's where there's the biggest difference through his hind quarters, that he's matured a bit more and a little bit more strength from his hind quarters than what I saw going into the Triple Crown series.
No question. He was a little lighter back there, and I think that comes from the rigors of the Triple Crown. You've got to be training, you've got to be racing, you've got prep races, and when you just back off these horses, it just gives them a little time for them to develop and fill out, and he's filled out into his frame. Remember, 3-year-olds are like adolescent teenagers. They're going through a lot of changes in a very short period of time, physically and mentally sometimes, and he makes a good appearance on the track. Looks like he's just jogging thus far, jogging back the wrong way, so like you said, very well balanced and looks very sound.
And you don't really see very much as to what a horse is doing when they're accompanied by the pony, because that's by design. The pony is going to kind of keep them quiet, reserved, and maybe that's the norm, especially for him on the first day around in a new place. Even if he's been there before, they don't want to do too much. They just want to keep everything quiet and calm and let him stretch his legs.
As I said all week, a trainer's job is to eliminate risk as far as taking care of horses. And one of the ways to eliminate risk is put a pony with them. There's less chance of them getting loose, rearing up, something going wrong, stepping on themselves. When you're ponying a horse, you don't really, when I was working with Bill, he was always very keen on keeping the horse's head straight rather than pulling him into you. If you pull the horse's head sideways into you, there's a chance of horses stepping on themselves. He's going to go ahead and gallop, it looks like here. Yeah, turn around and gallop.
And now away from the pony, we'll see a little bit more of his natural style.
Exactly. So he's going to break into a gallop here. And, of course, all weekend long, he's competing in the richest race in North America, but he was one of the cheapest horses at auction, $35,000. I mean, this is, I know if you're not familiar with those sorts of numbers in horse racing, it sounds like a lot of money, but I'm telling you, that is a bargain. That's like going to the Dollar Tree store and picking out an item and then selling it at Christie's for about $2 million a year later.
Well, just look at Malathaat, who won the Kentucky Oaks and is one of your favorites in the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. She was purchased for $1,050,000.
Yeah.
With Medina Spirit, he drew post position 8 in the field of 9 for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. That means Nixco is into his inside. Medina Spirit, his only wins are gate to wire. Can he adjust to Nixco in this race?
Well, I mean, I think he's going to have to, right? If that's going to be and I think that probably the connections would prefer to be outside of Nixco versus inside of Nixco. So they've gotten where they want to be. I think what's interesting when you look at him is the difference between Medina Spirit and Nixco as far as temperament in their style of training. Both have natural speed, both are fast horses, and yet Medina Spirit is a much more reserved horse, a calmer horse in terms of his morning works versus Nixco, who is a high-energy horse that the Cox Barn has allowed to kind of do. They just try to keep him reserved, but you can see he is always sitting on go versus Medina Spirit, who seems pretty kind in terms of what he's doing in the morning.
Yeah, very different in training styles. One's more manageable for the rider, that being Medina Spirit. Nixco's the type of horse you sit on there, and if something, I would imagine, the rider moves or does a cue, he's right into it. But this horse more manageable, using himself well. He's got his head head down. That'll aid in the development of his hind end. That's probably why he's filled out as well. Regular equipment, standard equipment. But yeah, this is just a routine gallop first day. From a trainer standpoint, once this horse gets around there, gets back to the barn, you'd be very happy with the first day out on the track.
Medina Spirit 4-1 in the morning line for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. So too is Hot Rod Charlie. Yesterday at the post position draw, pretty reserved. There wasn't a lot of response from those in attendance until the post was drawn for Hot Rod Charlie, and then the partnership of Hot Rod Charlie all broke in joy and laughter and just having a great time. But they were very happy with Hot Rod Charlie getting post position 3. And as we said, he's 4-1 in the morning line for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. We've been watching him almost every morning here. He's come out to the track at Del Mar. Simon, are you still impressed with what you're seeing?
I am. Again, another horse we focused in on his routine training chart. Worked 7/8 on Saturday. He walked Sunday, galloped yesterday. He looks tremendous. And again, all these top 3-year-olds, Essential Quality, Medina Spirit, Hot Rod Charlie, they've all followed the same MO. They've got a break at some point in the year at the end of the summer, because you can't go through that spring season and be around in the fall. And he's another one that's benefited from it. I mean, I think he's really, really done well. And I think the timing from Pennsylvania to now is good for him. And he's just moving like a treat over the track.
You know, he's interesting in that he has speed as well. In fact, showed it when he went to the lead in the Pennsylvania Derby and then drew off to win. But I think by virtue of the way this race comes together and what we've seen in the past, he's probably going to be in the situation of sitting in the stalking trip this time around. And that's going to maybe prove to be the best situation for any horse to be in with Nick's go and his weapon of speed. I think he's really fascinating in this race because he may be the horse that's able to put everything together at just the right time. He's been so unlucky throughout his entire campaign, but having watched him from a physical standpoint and also a mental standpoint, I think he might be just stepping up at the perfect opportunity.
You talked about the unlucky part, obviously, the disqualification in the Haskell. He still had to wait for Stewart's inquiry to be resolved before winning the Pennsylvania Derby. And Bill Strauss, the managing partner, showing that he has a sense of humor. Yesterday, to the post-position draw, he wore a shirt that said, "Hold all tickets." So he said, I don't know if we have to go through this in the Breeders' Cup Classic, he goes, I don't know if my heart can withstand that.
Yeah, I mean, I think last time I touched on it, I think last time he spoke to the patrol judges stand, that's just my opinion. I haven't really heard much feedback about that. I watched the replay a lot. There was a patrol judges stand, top of the stretch, and he veered out when he just saw that. But there he is. He's getting picked up on the pony. So these are like, you know, equine bodyguards that are going to escort the horses to and from the track to make sure nothing happens.
Hot Rod Charlie and Medina Spirit, two of your favorites in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. We're talking about the big long shot Stiletto Boy. He got here by virtue of his second place finish last time out in the Grade 1 Awesome Again. He was beaten by Medina Spirit by 5 lengths. He went off at 54-1 that day, so he's exceeded expectations throughout. And he's actually going to have a timed workout here, going a half mile.
Yeah, just a half mile. What are we here on Tuesday before the Breeders' Cup? So, you know, probably walk Wednesday, gallop Thursday, Friday, go ahead and run. So this is a horse that's changed barns. He was he wasn't a private purchase. He was purchased as a horse in trading sale. And I think, you know, he's even accomplished more than what the connections thought for him, but it's still a big task here. This is Kent DeSormo aboard just doing an easy half-mile work.
And when you see Kent DeSormo with kind of a medium-length hold on the reins and not changing position very much at all throughout this work, you know that Kent doesn't want the horse to do any more or any less than what he's doing throughout the entire work. And you see Stiletto Boy's ears have been shifting back and forth, kind of just waiting to see if the rider tells him to do anything else. And he hasn't. He's kind of sat motionless throughout the entire work. So in my mind, this is what Kent was asking. This is what they were looking for, and that's what they got. But a kind of nice, easy leg stretch, really, and just maybe an opportunity for Stiletto Boy to get a little bit more air, oxygen into his lungs.
Right, just take a little edge off him so he's not too high throughout the week. And you saw Kent DeSormo there across the wire. You wondering what he was doing with his hands. Well, he just reached down and clicked his stopwatch there. So, you know, he can go back to the trainer. Yeah, I think I went at about 48-3 just off the top of my head. 49-4.
Yeah, the official time given here for Stiletto Boy, a half mile in 50-1. He'll be making history as the first Iowa Derby winner in that same year to run in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Welcome back to our set just off the turf course here where we had some activity early, and we're going to have some activity later as well. Let's check in with Scott Hazelton and Rishi Prasad.
Todd, we have a slew of horses out here, a cavalry charge that have come out here to get in their morning training in, and we've got Tarnawa out here, and we'll talk about her, I'm sure, as we already have, but she's out here. But Rich, let's talk about Hello You. She's 10-1 on the morning line in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf. Obviously, this will be her first start out of Europe, out of the UK. She comes off of a win in the Rockfell Stakes. What do you make of this move for David Lochnan to come this way?
Well, David Lochnan is a young trainer who's just making a name for himself in the UK. He has two runners out here, Go Bears Go and Hello You. He seems particularly keen on the chances of Hello You. Now, he didn't actually train Hello You earlier in the season. She was trained by Rafe Beckett, but then she switched stables and went to David Lochnan. And he holds her in the highest regard, Scott. He thinks she could be a superstar of the future. He's taken his time. I think she's now had 3 starts for him. He's taken his time to learn a bit about her, but she produced the best performance for him in that Rockville Stakes that you referred to. She travelled very strongly, and you heard me chatting to Charlie Appleby earlier, talking about horses that travel on this track. It's so important that they're not behind the bridle and the riders are not having to chase them along to stay in touch. She moved beautifully through that Rockville Stakes. And Newmarket, I know it's not a turn, but it makes the horses, when they go down into the dip, it makes them have to think about changing their legs and finding a good rhythm and balance. And that was a positive sign to see her do that. And David Lochnan thinks that this filly might actually be out of the top draw. And if she is, we will find out when she lines up in the Juvenile Filly Turf.
What do you make of the move? And we see Charlie Appleby. He's got his riders. They'll be coming out this way. You've got Frankie Dettori. He's got a lot of options. Obviously, Ryan Moore with the Coolmore connections. But in this instance, David Lochnan going to Johnny Velasquez.
Yeah, well, I go back to the days of when Sir Michael Stout first started coming over here, and he used Walter Swinburne, his retained rider. But he wasn't afraid of ditching Walter Swinburne, who was one of the best jockeys.
Was Walter okay with that?
Walter perhaps wasn't too cool with that. But I remember he put, was it Lafitte Pinkai on Sonic Lady back in the day, and she was a star miler, because there are certain racehorses, certain race courses that you want the home advantage, and having someone like Johnny Velasquez aboard is only an advantage. There's no disadvantage for having a rider of his ilk on this track, which obviously, as you know, Scott, we've talked about it about 4 or 5 times already, and we'll do it again, no doubt, in the lead-up to the Breeders' Cup, that it's a track where you have to have specialist knowledge, and if you have riders who know where to be and when to press the button, it's a huge advantage, and I think that's a good move.
Todd, Simon and Caton, also a beautiful pedigree on this filly. They paid for her as a yearling over $411,000, so high expectations that certainly have paid out here in the first season of her racing career. That's Hello You, the number 6 horse, 10-1 on the morning line in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf.
And then there is the story of California Angel, who is the exact opposite as far as purchase prices. How about $5,500?
Yep.
Getting you a horse that has become a graded stakes winner and is on the precipice of the biggest win of her career. California Angel drew post position 14 yesterday in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. And her trainer, George Leonard III, making his very first visit out to Del Mar, put a positive spin on it, and also has every confidence in jockey Rafael Bejarano to work it out. But California Angel is truly one of the feel-good stories of this Breeders' Cup.
You know, if ever a horse was going to be able to deal with that type of a post position, it's going to be a horse with the style of California Angel, because she drops out of it and comes on with that late run. Maybe the post is not as critical as a horse who, say, had early speed and would have to work to overcome that outside drop.
And with the trainer of California Angel right now, Mike Joyce.
Yeah, I'm with George Leonard right now. California Angel just coming onto the racetrack. So she got here, so step 1 complete. How'd she look getting off the van, and what are you looking for here?
She looked well, did everything fine. Came back this morning. She was extremely happy, so she decided she wanted to go to the track, so we come out to give her a spin, let her take a look around.
The best laid plans with mice and men. It must have been anxious yesterday.
Yes, yesterday was a very anxious day till she got here off the plane, got here at Del Mar safe. Now I feel much better.
So you're going to go take a look at her. We're going to let you go do your job. What are you looking for exactly today?
Just to loosen her up, just let her look around, see the track, and loosen up a little bit.
All right, best of luck.
Thank you very much.
California Angel, a daughter of California Chrome, out of his wonderful mare, Simona, purchased for $5,500. As we mentioned, she's already earned $200,000 in her career. She could earn $600,000 if she wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Kaiten, you followed her since the very beginning of her career, which was quite a debut at Kentucky Downs. It was last race of the day, 28-1, pulled off the upset there, and she just has her late burst. I know that's characteristic of a lot of turf horses, but hers is exceptional, that last eighth of a mile.
Well, she's an eye-catching filly, too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you saw her physically prior to the race, you took a good look at her and thought, well, she's a filly that catches your eye, that has a chance. And then the way she ran at Kentucky Downs definitely turned some heads. I believe that George might have had some offers for her after that performance, but they stayed the course, and a good thing they did. She came back, and he chose to run her on the dirt, which is a little unorthodox, but with the reasoning of giving her some experience mentally as well as physically, then brought her back in the Jessamine, and then that powerful late kick to get up over Diamond Wow and turn her loose on that softer ground. I think the test here will be the very different style of race that's run at to go along with the competition, obviously, but this is a far cry from Kentucky Downs or even Keeneland on the good ground that she ran over the last time around. But there's no question about the quality as well as the way she looks.
Yeah, just because she costs $5,500 real quick, she's not out of place here. I'm telling you, she looks tremendous there. She's very, collected, got a rhythmic strike. She kind of bounces over the ground. For her to run, the dirt race was a throwout race, 6 furlongs. It was just like a work. But for her to come from far back and still finish third, sprinting 6 furlongs on the dirt, she's a tremendous filly with good potential. But yeah, traffic is going to be her big problem, navigating from off the pace through a short stretch run.
If you have not heard the story of her trainer, George Leonard III, we are going to tell you that story later in the show. Definitely stick around for that. California Angel out on the track. Michelle Yu, where are you?
Todd, I'm over here in the starting gate. I feel like we've heard so many trainers talking about schooling in the gate. I made my way over here. Unfortunately, I wasn't lucky enough to catch any Breeders' Cup horses at this very moment. But I am in a nice up close and personal view with the starting gate. You talk about these horses getting in here. In Europe, they don't have the gate assistance that we have here. Look at how narrow this is, really. I'm only 5'2". I'm not a very big person, but, there's not a lot of room right here. So imagine being in here and having an 1,100-pound horse right next to you and squeezing up right alongside. So the starting gate is an ultra important part of our racing, and I think it's really great to get to see some of the schoolers when they come up here. Also, do notice that the situation of the starting gate at Del Mar is very different than most of our Southern California tracks. Usually the starting gate that they school in is on the backside in the chute, so a little more quiet. Here, it's right here on the front side. So right when they come out, they go right down the lane, and this is generally where the horses are asked to go as fast as they can. Looks like we're going to get some schoolers right here, so when they come behind the gate and get inside, we'll get to see an up-close view here, guys.
Get out of the way. I heard someone say get out of the way. Simon, the European horses, will they go to the gate as much as, say, the American counterparts?
They might, depending on the horse. I mean, we touched on it yesterday, and I think there's an interesting horse and story maybe we'll touch on later on the week. Rishi can explain. I came with my theory that the starting gate bell is one of the reasons why horses break a little slow here when they come from Europe, because when they hear that bell for the first time, it sets them back on their hindquarters and they break a little slow. There's a trainer that actually bought his own bell out here, fire alarm bell, to ring and get the horses used to it. But this is a schooling process. So what they're going to do, they're just going to stand the horses in here. The European horses are not familiar and not used to having assistant starters up on the ledge with them. So depending on the horse, they'll go without an assistant starter, or if they want to go ahead and put an assistant starter in there. See, they're getting used to it here. This is
vertiginous.
Vertiginous, that's right, yeah.
For Brian Meehan.
Brian Meehan. So they're getting used to, that's head starter Jay Slender there. You see, they're putting the assistant starters in there for the European horse. So that's exactly what they're getting used to.
Armor is in there as well. Is that,
there's Armor.
There's Armor, yeah. In the
third for Richard Hannon in his most recent.
In the Juvenile Turf Sprint.
And it's a very different, it's even more of a contrast for the European horses coming over from Japan than, say, the North American horses. Obviously, the process is the same at most tracks in the starting gate, but when you come in from overseas, it's very, very different. The European horses are not used to having a handler in the gate in the same manner. They actually don't wait around in the gate as long. not as many delays. They're in and out for the most part.
That's exactly right. So they're getting there, and what they'll do, Jay will probably back and back out. That's a non-Breeders' Cup horse getting back out. But these European horses, see the assistant star there? He's got his notebook and pen. He's writing down the numbers, so they all know on race day when they come who these horses are, what they've done, and he's just taking the notes down. Remember, there's 169 Breeders' Cup horses entered, and Jay Slender's probably, I don't know, off the top of my head, I hadn't seen 100 of them before. So they've got to get used to him. And he's just releasing the electric magnets there. They might be walking these out the front or jogging out the front, depending on what the starters want to do and what the trainers want to do. But they're standing perfectly. This is great. This is a great experience for them to stand in the gate. And you don't want to put them in by themselves, right? Because, okay, they don't have an assistant starter, but you want to make sure the horses see the assistant starter on the other side of the gate. They've got to have that view of, and they're popping them out just real quick.
2 horses for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. You're watching here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup with just some gate schooling here. They don't go very far. Armor here as well as Vertiginous. We'll keep an eye on everything going on at the gate. Right now, Joaquin Jaime.
Hey, Todd, thank you very much. Walking back to the barn here with trainer Wayne Catalano and the colt that he's going to have in the Breeders' Cup Sprint right here in Aloha West. What did he do on the track today?
He went 1.25 miles. He galloped very well. We're happy with the way he's doing.
Had a workout over the main track here the other day at 47. What did you see out of that workout?
You know what? He worked very good. I mean, he went 47 at one, kind of easy, galloped out in a minute flat, which was tremendous work.
You look at his last 3 races, it seems like he's just improving now at the right time. Is that what you have seen from him, of just an improving horse at the right time coming into the Breeders' Cup this year?
Exactly. He's training up to the race really good. He's matured up to it, and I like the way he's coming into the race. He's really come a long ways.
We'll go ahead and let you get back to the barn. Thanks for the time, Wayne.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And Wayne Catalano's been here the whole week, and that's saying something because he's got a big operation, but with good reason. Aloha West has looked fantastic.
Yeah, it looked really good all week, and you know, it's a little bit of a busman's holiday sometimes for trainers when they come out to events like this. Rusty Arnold touched on it. You got one horse, all your focus is there, and it's good. I mean, it's good. You can really focus in and devote your time to that one individual.
From the barn area on the backside, returning to the starting gate, Michelle.
Thanks, Todd. You just saw that pair of juveniles jumping out of the gate, and afterwards, they're getting the gate approval from head starter Jay Slender. So as long as they did good and got out of there in a timely fashion, which both of those horses did a pretty good job, they are gate approved. Now, Jay says that they don't have to come here and get gate approved, but we do have a couple more back here. Currently, Twilight Jet actually taking some turns. I believe he's waiting for some company, but he's also going to do the same thing and try and jump out of this starting gate, which is a little bit different from the ones that they're used to back home, Todd.
See, that's interesting. They don't have to be gate approved. These horses have raced already. Typically in the U.S., once a horse is raced, you won't break them out of the gate in the morning. But I think, in my experience, if you can please the starter as a trainer and do all the right things and take the horse to the gate, schooled, and do what he's asked, it's really beneficial to the trainer because the gate guys appreciate it. They don't want some horse that won't go into the gate at the weekend.
And the horses we've been watching here, preparing for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, looking at Twilight Jet. Michelle?
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I'm joined by trainer Michael O'Callaghan. We're watching his horse, Twilight Jet, right now. What are you doing at the starting gate today?
Just a bit of gate practice. We've done a little bit at home, but the gates are a bit different here. They're a bit wider. There's a handler at their head, and of course, you've got the bell. We did a little bit of schooling at home with the bell, but it's just to be here and get into gates proper that he's going to jump out of on Friday. It's important just to tick these boxes.
What do you want to see from him in a schooling session like this?
That he just takes it good and well, that he's relaxed in the gates and that he breaks quick.
He is a little bit on his toes right now. Is that just him, or is he getting excited because he knows what's about to come?
Yeah, he's getting excited. He loves his race and he knows he's about to jump out. And yeah, he's just an exuberant, energetic sort of a horse. He's very enthusiastic, and if he wasn't like that, I'd be scratching my head. But that's him, and he's just all go.
Appreciate the time.
No problem. Thank you,
guys.
Real quick, Michael
Becky,
Ivor is bought
also-
into that horse. So that's a horse that's staying out here in the U.S. after the race on Friday, in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. So Twilight Jet. They have been practicing what I referenced earlier with the bell at home. And
it was a bell from a firehouse.
Yeah, he bought a fire alarm or a fire bell or something and counted down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and then rang the bell.
So obviously he's been watching one of the greatest horse racing movies of all time, Seabiscuit, which was one of the famous scenes in there as he prepared for his match race with War Admiral. Taking you to the starting gate here at Del Mar. You can also see horses behind us here on the main track. We'll also see the Aidan O'Brien horses coming out. So much more to come on this very busy morning at Del Mar. Counting down. We're down to hours until the Breeders' Cup World Championships.
You know this type of place. You might even work in one. Hot, sweaty, uncomfortable. But it doesn't have to be that way. Big-ass fans keep you cool, comfortable, and productive in any type of space. So no matter where you are, think big. Get cool. Tomorrow, live from Del Mar, TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup continues. Expert analysis of top contenders prepare for the Breeders' Cup World Championships. TVG's daily live coverage continues tomorrow morning, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Friday, all the action begins on the TVG Breeders' Cup Players Show. In-depth analysis and handicapping angles of the 14-race two-day Breeders' Cup card. The Future Stars Friday edition of the TVG Breeders' Cup Players Show. Noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
This proven son of A.P. Indy has sired over 50 stakes winners and well over 100 stakes horses. Recent top performers include Search Results, winner of the Grade 1 Acorn Stakes and a hard-fought second in the Kentucky Oaks. Past the Champagne, runner-up in the Grade 1 Ashland Stakes, plus these standout performers. In the auction ring, his progeny continued to command top dollar. 2-year-olds by Flatter sold up to $625,000. Flatter, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Welcome back to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Aidan O'Brien's runners have hit the track. This is the view that I have, and from the jockey cam, all 7 of them. Broom is the first one in line, followed by Mogul. Bolshoi Ballet was acting up just a touch in the chute. They all went and did a little bit of a jog for the Breeders' Cup Veterinarian team. Japan behind, followed by Gloomton, and then Mother Earth and Love, the last with that big chestnut blaze. They're going to go for a nice jog around the outside rail. We'll give you the best view possible here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
Thank you, Christina. And Kate, you've given us that perspective before, been out there on horseback.
It's amazing. I mean, it really is. It's kind of a one-time-in-a-lifetime type of experience to look up and see nothing but champion after champion after champion, a world-class horse. You don't know where to look. But particularly with Aidan's Army, there is nothing like seeing those horses single file around the racetrack.
Yeah, and this is a small group compared to what we've seen in years past. Sometimes we see 10, 15 at these big meetings. There's Love. She's going to be running in the filly and mare turf. That's the matchup between her and Love's Only You. She was second last time out at the Curran, the Blandford Stakes, but, you know, she's run against Mishriff. She ran against Adiyar in the King George and Queen Elizabeth. Of course, Adiyar, Derby winner, and, I mean, she's a top-class filly. She's the influence of Galileo that Rishi touched on earlier, and she's going to be a major threat in the filly and mare turf.
And Love, having come here to the United States for the Longines Breeders' Cup Turf, her most recent effort at the Curragh, second beat in the nose as the favorite, but she did have that Prince of Wales Stakes win back at Royal Ascot. Does a race like that take something out of a horse?
I don't think so. I mean, she beat last year's winner in that race, Odaria. It was a very good match. I don't think so. I mean, One thing about Aidan's horses, they don't get too much of a break unless they need one. They just keep going.
Yeah, they come over. They're good.
Yeah.
7 for 14, right? And it seems like she runs a race every time. I'm thinking that she's one that really benefits from the firmer ground here.
Yeah.
With a close-up view of the Aidan O'Brien team, Scott Hazelton and Rishi Prasad.
Rish, where to start with this group, I guess is the biggest question. I guess the most important point, I think, Scott, is that this is perhaps one of, and I use the term advisedly, weaker teams that Aidan O'Brien's brought over. Normally when Aidan O'Brien brings a team over for the Breeders' Cup, there appears to be 1, 2, maybe 3 really strong chances. Yes, I can see Love being a strong chance, but perhaps not as strong a chance as she would have been 12 months ago for whichever race she would have chosen had she come to the Breeders' Cup when it was in Keeneland. The 2-year-old, Glanthorne, I think he's an interesting contender, most certainly, because he is highly regarded. Disappointed on his second start, bounced back with a really gutsy win. Not sure how the track will suit him, judged by his running style. But overall, I don't think there's one real standout horse that you think will go off a short price favourite because this might be a superstar. And that's the thing, I think, about Aidan O'Brien's team. It lacks an obvious superstar.
Well, staying with Glanthorne, there's no lack of work riders for Aidan O'Brien, but notice that Ryan Moore is aboard him. Is that something that we would normally see in the morning?
Yeah, I think Ryan has, you know about being at the Breeders' Cup in the past. I think Ryan's getting to know the horse a little bit better. And I think that's an important factor because when you watch how he races Glanthorne, he's a horse that is he looks a little bit inexperienced still, a little bit lazy perhaps. And it'd be quite nice for Ryan to get to know how he feels around the track, to get that little bit of insight. Because I think the thing about him is that he might need a little bit more work. He's not, when he comes out of the gates, I don't think he'll travel quite as easily as, say, a Modern Games might. And he might be a little bit more of a test for Ryan's skills.
One of the horses, the individuals from a physical perspective that stood out to me was Mogul. He's got an American build to him. He's got that size and bulkiness to him.
Yeah, it runs in the family. I mean, he's related to Japan as well, who's not quite the size of Mogul, but he is a beast, and he's always been a beast. And when you watch him at the first time early in the season, when he reappears, whether it's this season or the season before in May, and you see him run in, say, the Tattersalls Gold Cup or something like that, you think, oh, he's going to improve enormously for this run because look at the size of him. Surely he'll need this run to bring him on. And then he doesn't improve as much as you think because he's just naturally, a bit like me, carries a bit more condition than necessary.
What do you make of Mother Earth and the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile coming off of that run on Champions Day?
Do you know what, Scott? I think there are a lot of people who will underestimate her because she hasn't won as many races as perhaps other stars that are coming over for Europe. But she has been one of the toughest horses to be campaigned this season. She hasn't been the absolute star that maybe her 1,000 guineas at Newmarket suggested she might be, but she's gone to all the big races over a mile, whether it's fillies and taken on the boys in the QE2 at Ascot on Champions Day, and she has performed with enormous credit on each occasion. She's the type of horse that you can set your watch by. You know that she'll run a really good race. Whether she's quite good enough to win is the question against a quality field.
Broome in Japan. I mean, it's kind of They kind of feel the same. You talk about some of these other horses, you know, are they ready for this? Are they good enough for this?
That's the question. I don't think they are. Nothing that they've shown in the last year and a half suggests that they are good enough. I think, you know, when you think of the horses that have starred for Aidan O'Brien in the past, whether it's a Highland Reel, for example, or, you know, St Nicholas Abbey. You're talking about horses that were outstanding Group 1 winners, and now you're looking at horses that perhaps haven't quite achieved that level. Yes, they're very, very good horses, and we should always quantify when we talk about perhaps a dip in the quality of the horses, that we're talking about horses that are, you know, Breeders' Cup legends when you talk about the Highland Reel or a St Nicholas Abbey, and these horses quite aren't at that level, and they're vulnerable, and so they come here with a chance, but they're not going to be bankers as we had from Aidan O'Brien's team in the past.
They need things to swing their way, so to speak, is really what needs to happen. Leslie, Bolshoi Ballet, how would you describe the season that he's had?
It's a good question because he's obviously achieved quite a lot, but the hype that surrounded him in the early part of the season will leave some people a little bit dismayed that he hasn't quite lived up to that reputation. Yet he has. He's a Grade 1 winner. You know, he won in North America, and he's clearly a top class horse. But again,
at the start of the season, we all thought that he might be the next superstar because of the way he was being spoken of as a Derby winner, potentially. Obviously, he had an excuse in the Derby itself. But even after that, you're still wondering about him. And, of course, he had little injury setbacks that kept him off the track when they had an intended target. So, question marks to answer.
Is the Coolmore partnership, the Coolmore partners, is this a transitional period? Are they trying to get back on track, especially now with the loss of Galileo?
Yeah, I think it is a moment for them to start thinking to the future again. They need to work out who's going to be the next Galileo. And they have a very strong team of stallions. They obviously purchased Wooten Bassett recently, and he's become an important part of the Coolmore setup. The retirement of St Mark's Basilica at the end of this season, looking ahead, is a big moment for them, and what he will achieve. I think they announced his stud fee just recently as €65,000. So he's a horse that they're going to put a lot of faith in, and they're going to back him with the best mares. Whether or not he's the next star stallion, we'll only find out in time. There are no guarantees in this game, as you know.
You have to excuse me, Kamari just went by. I don't know if you've had a chance to see Kamari, but she is a gorgeous filly. And Todd, in the next set from the Quarantine Barn, we're going to have another European defending champion, Glass Slippers, will be out on the track as she looks to defend her title in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Speaking of that, the race in which Kamari is in for trainer Wesley Ward.
There's Kamari, whom you speak of, and Mike Joyce has done a TikTok video of.
Yeah, he's given her a nickname, Kamari Kardashian. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can. I mean, you have to draw an inference there.
Yeah.
As far as Glass Slippers, one of the other horses that Scott was talking about, she drew the inside in that Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, so she's going to have a tough time defending her title there. But Wesley Ward with so many good horses here, Kamari amongst them.
Yeah, I mean, she looked good. We watched her breeze at Keeneland. Obviously, you know, we talked to him about how majority of the horses train without shoes on, and then he put the shoes on, she breezed with the shoes on. Her last two starts have been on the main track. She's going back to the grass where she has 2 wins, but she's built like a tank, I think. I mean, she is very powerful. She looks like a sprinter. That's where Wesley focuses his attention. I mean, when you think of Wesley Ward, not many two-turn horses roll off your tongue, but a lot of sprinters, whether it's turf or dirt, certainly do out of that barn, and she is just a powerhouse. I mean, look at her.
When you think of sprinters, you think of a horse that's built just like this.
Yes.
They're short, we say shorter coupled. They're from the beginning to the end, they're shorter. They're just jam-packed with muscle.
Yep.
And the shoulder is a square shoulder. The hindquarters are powerful, and that's where they get that push out of the gate to get position. Interestingly, she's not the type of filly that has to be on the lead in her races early, but she's got a lot of go. Regardless of the distance, the sprint distance, she's been effective from 5.5 furlongs up to 7 furlongs. So she's an adjustable sprinter.
Yeah.
But she is a true sprinter.
Yeah, she is. Stride is usually shorter, you know, very quick action. But she is a powerhouse there, yeah. Kamari
She has some attitude, too.
She does, yeah.
You can see with her head carriage and the way she's kind of clocking everything as she goes around.
Yeah, Mike Joyce in his TikTok attributing it to red beans and rice. Kamari, who will be in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. We'll be back after this.
There's something about when you get up early, prep the plane, and you take off, and you get that first light of day, and the air is crystal smooth. You can see forever. You have to have the right aircraft for the right flight with the right crew up front. Only NetJets can do this. The flight dissolves into the background. It should just be the here and now.
It starts with a dream, and if you have faith, there is reason to believe. And when you believe, add patience and time, and the horse of a lifetime could be waiting inside. Alone and in partnership, we breed, raise, race, purchase, sell, and stand world-class racehorses. Come dream with us. 3 Chimneys, where dreams are born.
At PNC Bank, we believe in the power of taking steps forward, moving ahead, whatever the pace and whatever the size. That's why we set out to help make it easier for everyone to move forward financially. With small business, personal banking, wealth, and corporate solutions that help you reach your goals and plan for the future?
It's a girl.
We're doing everything we can to help you get where you want to be. Because sometimes a little help is all you need. See how we can make a difference for you at PNC Bank.
Respect the law. He's earned it. A Grade 1 winning juvenile.
'Tis the law, pops the cork in the champagne.
A classic winning 3-year-old.
'Tis the law, is gonna win the first leg of the Triple Crown.
5 triple-digit buyers.
Respect the law, 'tis the law.
The best son of Red Hot Sire Constitution.
He's left the others behind. He's gonna win the Run Happy Travers.
'Tis the law.
By far and away the most popular request as far as horses I should visit at the barn is this guy next to me right here, Snapper Sinclair. The elder statesman is quite the cult favorite, and I was told there's a secret spot on his right-hand nose if I can get close enough that it will put him to sleep. I don't know if he's going to let me get there. A little bit. There. Oh, there we go. We found it. Thanks for letting us visit with you, buddy. You know, I don't know if you guys have kids or not, but my kids love Puppy Dog Pals, and there's a song on there that goes, Snapper, oh, Snapper. And I sing that to him every time I come by. That's probably why he's trying to bite me. Guys?
Brendan, Extravagant Kid was a close 4th in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint last year. Looking at his campaign this year, 1 victory. It was a big one in the Alquaz Sprint. But when did such an international campaign become part of the plan for you?
We kind of had it in our mind for a while to maybe try Dubai, Joachim, and between one thing and another, you know, just a year or 2 previously wasn't quite the time to go with him, but you know, we said we'd try it this year because he ran so well in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and we just, you know, I wanted to try and change things up with him. He's getting a little older and that, so just give him some variety, and it worked out great, you know.
How has he bounced out of that international travel since he's been across the pond in 3 of his last 4 starts?
Good. We gave him some downtime when he came back from his last run at Newmarket because he ran a little below par. And, you know, we just got him ready for the Woodford at Keeneland then, and I thought he ran really well in that. He was 2nd, so, you know, showed that he's still, you know, as good as ever probably. So, you know, we're pretty hopeful about Saturday.
Had an easy spin over the turf course the other day here at Del Mar. What did you see that morning?
Yeah, I just wanted to let him get a feel of the track, really. You know, he's fit and he's ready to go. He just never any need to overdo it with him. So, you know, it all went good, and he seems like he's doing well out here. He likes Del Mar, so, you know, he's an old pro at this stage.
As an 8-year-old, he seems like he's got a mind of his own. He keeps stopping at the exact same point right there. What's he like to be around now at age 8?
Like that, you know. I'm expecting him to start talking to me one of these days. You know, he's clever. He knows the drill everywhere he goes anymore. So, but he's very inquisitive. He's always watching stuff all the time and that, you know. But he's a pretty cool horse.
Thanks for the time, Brandon. Good luck in the turf sprint.
Thanks, Joaquin.
Turning our attention to Future Stars Friday, where there are 5 Breeders' Cup Championship races on the card. And one of the heaviest favorites of all those races is in the NetJets Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Echo Zulu, when they drew post positions yesterday, only 6 horses going in this race. Echo Zulu, a 4-5 morning line favorite.
Well, she's done nothing to deter you from thinking she should be that short of a price as favoritism goes. But I will say there are a couple other fillies who've been very impressive that are in that field as well, including Juju's Map, who her workout was very, very good. And now our first look at her, she arrived last night, and looks as if she's none the worse for wear for the travel.
Yeah, she looks really, really good here for trainer Brad Cox. Look at her head bowed. Rider's got a good tight rein of her. It always helps a rider's cause when the horse can keep their head tucked like that. When the horses start lifting their head and bringing it back into the rider's face, that gives them a lot of cause for concern. It shortens the ability, or it lessens the ability to have control over the horse. The reins become shorter, and that's just perfect. When you're a rider sitting up there like that, you can just drop your hands on a horse's neck and let them just drop their head. And for a 2-year-old, this is a horse, I mean, you could look at this and say this is an older horse here, so professional.
Yeah, the daughter of Liam's Map broke her maiden in her second start going a mile at Ellis Park. Her debut, she was maybe a little bit unlucky, and maybe it was a little bit short for her at 5.5 furlongs, but from that experience, she was a completely different horse the next time going a mile. She broke running, went right to the front, and did it so easily. Continued to train really well, but I think everyone was a little surprised by how easily she won in the Alcibiades, taking on much tougher competition, going to the mile in a 16th. She was equally at ease. She didn't make the lead in the early stages, but she was on cruise control throughout the entire race.
Well, it's going to be a good race because you've got Echo Zulu, Todd, Hidden Connection, Juju's Map, all very similar, lightly raced, blowout wins. Big defection of Ain't Easy yesterday was huge. Joe Rosario now jumping aboard Echo Zulu for Steve Asmussen.
And now we'll go to Andy Serling's favorite horse in the Longines Breeders' Cup Turf. Talking about Tribuvan.
He's got a couple of them in this race he likes.
That's right. This horse out on the track right now, and there were some questions about whether or not this one would get in, but with that Grade 1 United Nations win and really consistent campaign this year, it all worked out.
Yeah, finally got in for trainer Chad Brown. Disappointed last out in the Sword Dancer. I think that the United Nations probably was an easier Grade 1 win, an easier Grade 1 spot than the Sword Dancer, but to me, this is a horse who's one-dimensional. When he doesn't get the lead, he doesn't really put it all together. Yeah, he's won an allowance race from off the pace, but he's a horse that likes to be on the front. He sees a little more aggressive here. He's got a ring bit on. That's a little more severe of a bit. You can see the rider's having a tough time with this horse. Just control him now. He gets him settled down. And you saw what I mean. As soon as they lift their head up, it becomes a little more of a tougher task for the rider. And a lot of this is probably traffic to the outside. We're on a very tight shot here. Horses going by. Once they go by, the horses tend to relax and drop their head. But you can see he's up tempo here, and he likes to be that way in the race.
This is about as different as night and day to training at Del Mar versus training at Belmont Park.
Yeah.
So for him, I can understand why he would be a little bit more on the bridle, be throwing his head around and maybe be training a little bit more eagerly than what probably would be your connection's wishes. But at the same time, I like the fact that he is settling in and with some adjustments and with the equipment, kind of getting there eventually. And I bet with a few days,
he'll be fine.
You're going to see him galloping the way he normally does.
Yeah, first or second day. You can see him look at him, the riders. It's every time. I think he eyeballs a horse in front, and then they were trying to get the lead change. And this is where for the rider, you don't want to swing him around too much because this is where they can step on themselves, and he's just trying to get this horse geared down. There we go. Listens to the commands, got his head bowed, and got him pulled up. Mission accomplished. They got him around there. That's the main thing.
Yeah, well, what a great... I mean, just watching the exercise rider, it was not a tug of war here. That was really, really smooth.
Yep.
Considering how Tribuvan wanted to go on with it. The son of Tornado out of the Next Desert Mare, Mahindra, bred in France and preparing for the Longines Breeders' Cup Turf, which is always, traditionally, the race right before the biggest race of the 2 days of championship racing, the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. And when we come back, we'll look back at 20 years on from Tisnow's incredible win in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. You're watching Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
With the TVG app, get expert analysis and free handicapping advice from here. Place a bet in just a few simple taps from here. And even stream races live from here. Access, analysis, and action from anywhere. Download today and get a $300 risk-free bet on the Breeders' Cup. TVG. Onto the app. Off to the races.
At Calumet Farm, we're proud to offer proven stallions to fit every breeder's needs. With over 72 million in progeny winnings on dirt and turf, our diverse roster is producing the champions of today and tomorrow. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
Catalina Cruiser. He won 7 of 9 starts coast to coast with 6 triple-digit buyers and 5 dominating graded stakes wins, including a record in the Grade 2 True North Stakes, a son of leading 5th crop sire Union Rags, a $370,000 yearling with an imposing physical,
and one of the best of his generation. There's only one Catalina cruiser, now standing at Lane's End.
Longines.
Welcome back to the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club, the 38th renewal of the Breeders' Cup happening here this Friday and Saturday. But it is 20 years on from one of the most impressive accomplishments in all of Breeders' Cup history. The only horse to ever win back-to-back Breeders' Cup Classics, 'tis now. But it was that second win and the circumstances surrounding it that will live on forever in the history of this remarkable event. We look back at 'tis now winning the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic 20 years ago.
The American Horse of the Year and the ARC winner are heads apart with a furlong to go in the Classic. On the outside, Saque. 'Tis now fights on. Here's the wire, desperately close.
The horse had run in the Woodward 3 days before 9/11 on the 8th. And I was at Santa Anita on the morning of the 11th, and I was walking down to the racetrack, and a friend of mine stopped me and said, "Jay, come in here and look at the television."
It almost goes without saying, but we'll say it anyway. This is not going to be a normal broadcast day at TVG.
The horse was still in New York. Both his groom and his exercise boy stayed with him. He wound up staying for about 11 or 12 days and finally got a flight out of New Jersey.
About 7 days before the Breeders' Cup, I was scheduled to work 'tis now at Santa Anita. Jay wanted an extra special work, but he had other ideas. He didn't want to go.
He got on the track, and all of a sudden he started propping.
He was very strong-minded, very strong-willed horse. And if he didn't want to do something, you weren't going to force him to do it.
I said, "This doesn't look good. I think we're going to maybe have to cancel everything." He's supposed to fly out 2 days later.
It took me about 40 minutes to actually convince him that it was time to do some work. But when he did go, he went beautifully. He's quirky, but he's fast.
The first day there on the racetrack, he wasn't good again. But then, lo and behold, the following days, he just turned it around. He was like he'd been as a 3-year-old.
We just had to make sure that the 'tis now was going to show up on Breeders' Cup Day.
God bless America.
The image that I will never forget is the jockeys were all asked to walk out onto the turf course, and we turned around and looked at the grandstand. Up on the roof, the military presence was, I was awestruck.
Sweet home.
'Tis now was racing for America.
And the horse is on the track for the Breeders' Cup Classic. 'Tis now the reigning horse of the year, sidelined with a back injury, kept him in the barn for 6 months. Third in both races since his return.
He broke well, and he got a great position. It pretty well went according to plan until about the 3/16 pole.
Altitude is taken wide by Gander, and the field turns for home.
I heard a horse ranging up on the outside of me. I gave one quick little glance, and I saw those blue Godolphin colors.
Here comes the ARC winner, Saque, and he storms to the lead.
Saque looked like he had his measure at that point.
I went ahead and I put the stick in my left hand, and I tapped him once. I didn't hit him hard. I just tapped him, and he responded favorably. It was simply a day I will never forget. It was so exciting, and Tom Durkin yells, and Tiz now wins it for America. The place went ballistic.
Immediately after, I was really happy for Tiz now. Because he'd had a tough year. He was the horse of a lifetime.
And we as a country had a very tough year that year, as we said, with the September 11th attacks, and we all needed something to cheer. In baseball, they all talk about Mike Piazza's home run for the Mets and what healing that brought and diversion it brought. Tisnow's win was every bit of that, and it was just a miracle that we even had the Breeders' Cup, since 9/11 had been literally weeks prior.
You and I were on the set together covering the sale the morning that happened, and there had been so much doubt and confusion and fear in those days leading up to it that truly we did need something to get back to normal and to feel good about, and Tisnow and the Breeders' Cup gave us that moment.
Well put. Such a privilege to have been there and seen that moment up close. It's going to be a privilege to be here once again for the Breeders' Cup on Friday and Saturday with more Mike Joyce.
Todd, thank you very much. I'm here with Tim Cohen of Rancho Temescal and Red Barons Racing, owner and principal of Dr. Shivel. So we're here. We're going to show the work to the people at home. I know you communicate a lot with your trainer. The preparation's getting ready for today. How have things been going? What's Mark been telling you?
He's been really happy with everything going on. Transported well down here, Del Mar, and everything's great as far as I know. Of course, I'm the last one to know if this one's not.
Your operation's really interesting because those of us in California, we see the Rancho Temescal and Red Baron barns kind of everywhere. You support a lot of trainers. Getting to this level, though, with Dr. Shivel, I mean, you run at all levels, right? We see your horses in a lot of Calbred stakes, a lot of graded stakes. But Breeders' Cup here in the sprint, what does it mean for you and to have this kind of a horse right now?
It's like the apex, right? So my dad races as Red Baron's barn, and I'm the Rancho Temescal side of it. And so to do it with my dad's great, and for him to get to the Breeders' Cup is just fantastic. So really stoked.
So I know it's a hobby, but it's also a business, right? So you go into business with the family. Is there any like push and pull with you and Pops?
Yeah, every now and then we're okay. But so I handle the farm side and the racing and the purchasing also. So he gets to sit back and critique, and so that's always fun to take.
So this was a horse who last year as a 2-year-old really kind of set Del Mar on fire for Luis Mendez, and then you guys came in and made the purchase. Tell me about how that happened and leading to where we are today. And did you ever think you had a horse that was a potential Breeders' Cup horse or a classic running style of horse?
Yeah, great question. So Bill Branch, who bred, and also Arnold Hill, bred Dr. Shivel, and Mark Latt, who trains for them but was obviously not training at the time of the horse, said, "Hey, Tim, you really got to look at this horse." And I did, and I was like, I'm not sure what you're seeing there, but okay. And then a race after, I was like, oh, it just hit me in the head. I'm like, okay, I saw it. So Bill Branch was kind enough to let us in, and we did that before the futurity. And then we gave the horse a break because we knew we'd need one. And we kind of worked backwards to believing that we'd be here. And so it actually worked out surprisingly well.
So as a sprinter, that's really what you always saw as future?
At the time, I think at 4 you'll see him go a mile, certainly. But right now there's really no reason to change. And then I think he's certainly grown since he was 2. And I think he's physically he could handle a mile now.
All right, well, best of luck. Great to catch up with you.
Hey, thank you so much.
Okay, let's go to my brother-in-law, Simon Bray. He talks about my tweets. He never actually puts them on his Twitter Talk segment, though.
No, Mike, I'm going to save those for the end of the week. Right now, very basic, very mundane, just taking care of business tweets today, thanks to our friends at America's Best Racing, Twitter Talk time on the social media board. It's getting a little busier out here, so we're going to spend a lot of time. We're looking ahead to maybe Friday and Saturday. Yeah, there are 14 championship races, but there are also races on the undercard that encompass some wages. So take note. J.J. Heisel wrote this morning, if you look through the entries, Triple Tap, a half-brother to American Pharaoh, returning in race 1. Very impressive in the debut. 1-for-1, won by 4 lengths. He's coming back in race 1 on the undercard on Friday. And then how about this? Gary Palmansana. This is interesting. Looking through the Breeders' Cup undercard PPs, the Senator Ken Matty, sprint race on the grass, has 4 horses 2 and up 2 and up. How often do we see that? There is 1 2-year-old in the field, and Flo the jock will need to be on a diet. Yeah, that horse is Thunder Love, running it in the center to Ken Matty. Don't see this in the United States very often, but you do in Europe. Sprinters at the age of 2 taking on older horses, especially at the end of the year. The Prix de l'Abbé on Arc Day is one of those, would be an example. But yeah, Thunder Love is carrying 112 pounds. Some of the others in there, 125. Flo the jock, he's going to have to be on that seafood diet out here on the West Coast to make that weight. Okay, Rudy Rodriguez this morning. We were talking about Gamine and Bella Sophia. JJ Heisel, look at this. In reference to the draw yesterday, Bella Sophia being outside of Gamine, we're wondering all week long what the tactics were going to be, how they're going to play out. Rudy's put it out there, plain and simple. Look at this. In a perfect world, you want to draw inside of Gamine. We're going to go after her and take it from there with the outside post. So there you go. They're the tactics for that race. And then the last one right here. This is in reference to Kate. She tweeted out about Mike and his surfboards with the jockeys. Look at this. I have to throw this in before I start the Breeders' Cup. I'm always hearing how jockeys are the best athletes, pound for pound. But after watching them all fall off their surfboard, I'm sticking with wrestlers. Michelle.
I need coffee at night. In the morning.
Hey, Simon, thanks so much. I'm right here, actually, joined by Bing Bush from Abadanza Racing. We're just talking about the coffee situation.
Oh, my God.
Bing is probably the most excited person I know. He really puts me to shame, and he's over here with like a nitro coffee. You really need that?
Absolutely not, but it's really good.
All right, let's talk about another horse that's really good. I want to talk about going to Vegas because that was the coolest win last time out. Tell me what it meant for you to have going to Vegas with that grade 1 score.
Oh, my goodness. Well, our Abadanza Racing Group are so happy to be partners with My Racehorse and with Medallion. And for us to have a grade 1 horse is just itself a big win. I mean, it's just... I told my partners just to be here, just take a breath, because we're already winners just to be in this company, you know, and then to win it, I can't even find words. I mean, it was just unbelievable. The ride that we've gotten to go on with this filly has just been magical. I mean, miraculous.
Now, you had about 250 people in the winner's circle at Santa Anita. This is your home base. You literally work in the city of Del Mar. How many people, if this filly wins the Breeders' Cup, are coming into the winner's circle?
Well, you're right. I mean, I live right here. I can walk to the track from here, and I do walk to the track. My office is right in Del Mar. You know, everybody in our group, they're all right here, you know, and we have a lot of friends here, and the excitement is just off the charts, you know. How many people? Well, I know that we have to limit it, unfortunately, and so there's a lot of people that can't get in there, and we're actually going to have lanyards this year. They said if she wins, we're going to have like X number of lanyards for Abadanza and X number for My Racehorse and X number for Medallion, and I think we're going to keep it under 100. But I mean, I guess for the Del Mar Winner's Circle, it was like around 200 or something, they said, you know. So we'll cut it down a little bit, but man, the excitement is going to be off the charts, you know. It's just to be here is great. If we win it, oh my God, look out.
Does it even feel more surreal because it's Del Mar for you?
Yeah, this is special. I mean, you know, this is home, you know. I mean, I'm from Lexington, and that's home, you know, but you can't replace old roots. But my gosh, Del Mar is the best place in the world to have new roots for me, and you know, for our Abadanza crew, we're all from here, and there's just no place like home. You know?
I also want to talk about horologist. We got to see her schooling yesterday, and you've been standing outside for the last 15 minutes feeding her carrots and peppermints. You got to watch out how much you feed her. Some of us girls need to tighten up here.
Well, she likes her carrots. She's a very social animal. I think she's over there looking for more right now as we speak, you know. But she's such a special animal to be around in the morning. She's very, very kind, but she's all business at the same time. And just a pleasure to be around. She's such a class act, you know, and she seems to be getting over the track really well here. And, you know, even though they have her at 30-1, I truly believe she's going to outrun her odds. And, you know, she seems to be thriving. Bill Mott's done a magical job with her, and the crew here, Neil, and, you know, her groom, Jose, just done a great job with her. And I couldn't be happier.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bing, for joining us. Appreciate it. Class act right here, Bing Bush, Abadanza Racing, guys.
Thank you.
I mean, there's just another example, Kate, in that the Breeders' Cup is really a celebration of what's transpired over the course of the year. Going to Vegas, even if she doesn't pull off the upset in the Maker's Mark filly and mare turf, she's had a year that they're excited about, they've celebrated, and to bring all these different backgrounds together is truly an amazing, amazing event.
It really is. I have to tell you, I have some very good friends who are casual race fans but avid followers of big events who got together one night after several beverages, decided that they really wanted to get involved in racehorse ownership in a limited way, decided to go in and picked a horse based on a name, and now they're in the Breeders' Cup going to Vegas.
Amazing. And partnerships have grown over the years. Cott Campbell and his Dogwood stable given so much credit for really pioneering the idea, and now it is flourishing in thoroughbred racing. You could be flourishing with cash. Looking at the wagering menu on our first championship day this Friday, you see the wagering menu on a 10-race card. 5 of those races are Breeders' Cup Championship races. Then on Saturday, 9 Breeders' Cup Championship races as part of a 12-race card. All the wagering opportunities. It's the 2 best days for wagering in thoroughbred racing, and it's very simple to be wagering. Go with TVG, the official wagering partner of the Breeders' Cup. And we're so sure you're going to like it. If you've never been a TVG account holder before, we got a special, a risk-free bet up to $300. Get all the details at tvg.com/best bet.
The November sale is a destination event for buyers and sellers around the world.
The ambiance during the September sale was incredible.
As we move into Keeneland November, I think people will find a new experience, a new atmosphere, new optimism. Anybody who participates, buying and selling, when they participate in Keeneland, they're reinvesting in the industry. That is the mission. It allows us to build for the future, and the future is bright.
The future is bright at Keeneland November.
Tomorrow, live from Del Mar, TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup continues. Expert analysis of top contenders prepare for the Breeders' Cup World Championships. TVG's daily live coverage continues tomorrow morning, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Friday, all the action begins on the TVG Breeders' Cup Players Show. In-depth analysis and handicapping angles of the 14-race 2-day Breeders' Cup card. The Future Stars Friday edition of the TVG Breeders' Cup Players Show. Noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
You know this type of place. You might even work in one. Hot, sweaty, uncomfortable. But it doesn't have to be that way. Big-ass fans keep you cool, comfortable, and productive in any type of space. So no matter where you are, think big. Get cool.
Gunrunner reaching for the wire, collected alongside, and then comes West Coast and War Story, but Gunrunner's on top of the world! He wins the Breeders' Cup Classic!
In 2017, Gunrunner punctuated his Horse of the Year campaign with a dominant victory in the Breeders' Cup Classic. This year, the World Championships return to the Seaside Oval, and the biggest names in the sport have assembled at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. Who will rise to the occasion and emerge as this year's definitive star? TVG brings you all the action as the competitors and their connections make their final preparations for the biggest weekend of the year. Welcome to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
And welcome back to the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. You are watching Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Your inside look. We're taking you behind the scenes, behind the barriers, as all these amazing athletes and their connections get ready for their championship moment this Friday and this Saturday. We got to look back at Gun Runner. I know you have fond memories. We were talking about your husband, Doug, is the jockey agent for Florent Giroux. That was quite actually a good way to go out in his career, Gun Runner, and then on to the Pegasus Cup. Made a lot of money over those last couple of races.
It was kind of a surreal experience, really, and coming here again for the first time since that Breeders' Cup spiked some very, very fond memories.
And Gun Runner represented this year with his progeny, including Echo Zulu, who is the horse to beat in the Net Jets Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Let's go back up to the breakfast marquee with Mike Joyce.
The head goes over.
This, Todd, this marquee has literally everything in here. You can see there's a bar, there's a food station. How about this? We got an omelet bar. Check this out. They'll make it fresh to order. You've got vegetables, you've got glass plates, and we have a Hall of Fame rider with over 6,000 victories in Kent DeSormo, pair of runners, and some really nice runners. I know you're excited about the Breeders' Cup, Ovia Class, and then Stiletto Boy. First question on Stiletto Boy, is it the high heels or are you packing a knife?
We're going to find out on Saturday whether I'm a ninja boy or if I'm riding a pole. That's one thing's for sure.
Let's talk. You're really
going to figure that out. I'm going to figure that out.
I know you're really excited about this horse, and it's more than just the usual exuberance for Stiletto Boy. Tell me about the experience of riding this horse and the chance he brings to the table.
Well, he's cat-like on his feet. He's very athletic. His agility is profound. So I've done something on a racehorse I've never done. I galloped him a mile and then inserted a half-mile breeze. And the reason for that, the fans on Looking Horse Racing today, is that he overwhelms himself. He gets really excited on race day, and it wasn't to make him fast or anything else, but other than to just knock his energy level down. He's too happy. So that's what we tried to accomplish this morning with him. Mission accomplished.
So the official time, now you did it on your own watch on your wrist. What did you clock him in?
51-1.
51-1. So that's the official Kent DeSormo clock.
And he galloped, and in that insertion was 5 minutes and 57 seconds.
This is pretty accurate. And so he looks fantastic. The people at home are getting a look at him right now, and this is you finishing up. And we know it's you because you're donning the same sweater. So
second time around. Look, I just hit my watch.
This is amazing. We actually have the play-by-play by the player. I don't think that's ever been done before in this sport. So he's fantastic. You also have Ovia Class, which is another runner you have that I know you're very and you even said you said watch out for this horse when I saw you first thing today.
Well, I think onlookers and race fans are going to find that this horse is going to be quicker this time. He's not going to be dawdling out the back and having to make up 15 lengths. I think my brother has requested a little more speed out of him. He's been working 102 and change for 5/8 of a mile, and I'm pretty sure he got inside of a minute in his final preparation for this weekend.
Kent, always a pleasure. Thank you for the insight.
Okay.
And he's had a lot of success for his brother Keith, Michelle. So the DeSormo boys are back in the Breeders' Cup.
We love the DeSormo brothers over here, Mike. We were just talking about them. I'm joined right now by Amanda Rapar, the assistant for Steve Maiotti, and their Breeders' Cup starter, Lieutenant Dan, who likes her a lot more than he likes me. It's no surprise the way things are going. Social media, you spoke. I'm answering. Here is a nice up-close and personal view of Lieutenant Dan. And you told me, Amanda, he's actually really sweet.
Yeah, he is. He's very sweet, but you know what? He's a playful boy and spoiled.
Well, now you've been giving him cookies for the last 10 minutes that we've been standing here. What is his favorite cookie?
He loves his Miss Pasture cookies. He don't care for carrots very much or apples, but he'll eat a cookie anytime.
And I got to have you show real quick. This is the way he is. You guys see these racehorses, and we talk about how they're athletes and everything, but some of them are just big cuddle bugs. I don't know if you can see that, but that's Amanda having a snuggle after he won the stake here at Del Mar. There we go, Lieutenant Dan. What a cuddle buddy. Maybe he'll give me a smooch. Can I have a kiss? Oh, I got one. Didn't even get bit today. Going on, I'm an upward trajectory, Joaquin. Joaquin, over to you.
And Michelle, thank you very much. Here with trainer Brad Cox. And Brad, it's going to be your final set of the day, and it's going to be the Breeders' Cup Classic favorite, Nix Go, who's right in front of us. You've gotten late last night, and I know you've had a pretty busy morning. How have things gone for you so far?
Yeah, so far really well. Just kind of playing it by ear, obviously just settling in with the horses, but all of them so far have trained well. Nix Go's our last one this morning. He's going to jog in front of the vets in the chute and then go straight off gallop gallop about a mile, and that'll be his, first. It'll be his introduction to Del Mar.
You said you're sort of playing things by ear this morning. Does he usually gallop this late back home in Kentucky?
It just depends. Blake, my son, was here. He's been here for a couple of days and said it was really quiet out here at this time. So we try to train him during a quiet time. He does train. Lots of times he'll train later in the day in Kentucky, just a quieter track, kind of keeps him a little more relaxed.
Knowing him so well as you do, what do you expect to see from him in his first time stepping on the racetrack here today?
He'll be aggressive. I walked him off the van last night at 10:30, and he was very aggressive. He's just a very forward horse. He's on the go. He's on the move. He likes to, that's just what he is. That's who he is. He's a very aggressive horse, and I would expect he's definitely going to grab the bridle and, kind of give Evan a work out there for a good mile, and he wears the draw reins. But look, that's he's been doing it a while. He's happy doing it. He's performing well like that, and I'd just like to see more of the same from him.
The handicapping question that's going to come up with him is going to be the distance, the 1.25 miles. What are the indications that he gives you that he is going to carry that speed 10 furlongs?
Well, in the 3 mile and an eighth races I've seen him in this year, I didn't see where he was really even asked the last little bit of the race. It looked like Joel was kind of wrapping up on him. To me, his gallop out's impressive, so I don't know. I think that's just people being negative, thinking that he can't get 1.25 miles. But, listen, this is the toughest group he's ever faced, so if it comes down to him not being able to get the 1.25 miles, maybe because maybe obviously the pace or the way the race plays out. But at the end of the day, he could get 1.25 miles. There's nothing about any of his 3 races going 1.1 1/8 this year that he wasn't going to go on and get another 1/8 of a mile. So I'm confident he'll get 1.25 miles, and we'll see how it plays out.
Thanks for the time, Brad.
Thanks, Joaquin.
All right, Todd, the Breeders' Cup Classic favorite, Nix Go, just stepping onto the racetrack here. He's just going to back up in the 7-8 chute.
Thank you, Joaquin. I wanted to touch on something where, Joaquin was asking Brad about his training hours and the difference here. I know what it was like after being in the Eastern time zone in Lexington, Kentucky for about 3.5 weeks, coming back here, doing these early morning shows. Do horses go through the same effects coming from different time zones? Does it affect them?
I don't think so from coast to coast here. Maybe internationally, just the recovery, but they don't experience jet lag as we do, per se. I really don't see that. And, they usually get a day off, and you heard he's going to gallop here. He's got those draw reins on. We touched on this yesterday. That's that piece of equipment attached to the girth. Those reins go through the ring and into the rider's hands. It just gives them a little more leverage, a little more ability, especially with a strong horse. United wears them. That's the horse we saw yesterday. And it prevents the horse from lifting their head. Also creates extra use of the hind end, makes the horses bow their head, and when they bow their head, they'll use their hind end and develop more muscle mass back there. So it's good in a variety of ways.
Caden, it seems like the Saudi Cup was forever ago, but towards the beginning of this racing season, it was billed as the big showdown. Nix Go versus Charlatan over in the Saudi Cup, and said they both got beat there, but Charlatan got the better of Nix Go out of the Bob Baffert barn. And now we have Baffert in here with Medina Spirit, a horse whose best wins, only wins, have been gate to wire. Does he have the ability to hang with Nix Go early?
See, that is the big question. And just because a horse can show speed every time they run doesn't mean that when faced with another speed horse, they can do it again.
Right. Someone's got to be quicker.
It becomes a matter of class.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big million-dollar question for the Breeders' Cup Classic is whether or not Medina Spirit can match strides in those early stages of the race. If he can, then it could be the undoing of both horses, really, and could set it up for someone else. But if he can't, then really it's Nix Go's race to win or lose, because once he gets loose on the lead in those early stages of the race, he runs everybody off their feet. And then I do think that Brad's right in terms of the argument of the 1.25 miles and whether or not he can get it becoming kind of a non-issue. He's not a horse that quits once he's out there in front, and he's got that high cruising speed, but he is a horse that doesn't show he overcomes adversity when he doesn't get a lead to himself on the front. When his defeats have come when he hasn't made the lead, when he's had to work, when he hasn't gotten away from the gate cleanly. Those are the races where he hasn't necessarily run his A game. And the other part you wonder about is how long can he keep going and running everyone off their feet at the highest level and keep winning, because it's so rare that you see horses turn in those lightning fast fractions time after time after time at the highest level and come up with those incredible performances. I don't think anybody else in this race besides Medina Spirit, I don't think Hot Rod Charlie is fast enough early, even when he's at his best on the front end. Even though he has shown speed, I don't think he's fast enough. I don't think Art Collector is fast enough, even though he has early speed, to match strides. So the question is whether Medina Spirit is fast enough or not. Now, Max Player is the horse that really came to life when he started being in the race early.
Right.
But he's never come close to being as fast in those early stages.
No, the internal fraction is not as fast.
So, I mean, to win 2 Breeders' Cup races in different spots is a remarkable feat in the history of this race. When you look at Knicks Go, to be a Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner the year before and come back and win the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, that's stunning if he can pull that double off.
It's tremendous. I mean, maybe it could happen with a 2-year gap, but to come back the following year, and I think that is cemented in people's mind, what adds to the intrigue. Maybe he can't get the 1.25 miles because he was the champion miler last year, whether it's true or not. But I think, this race tactically, I think is between this and the Philly Mare Sprint, Gamine Belle Sophia, I think is a tremendous matchup. The race is going to be won or lost for Knicks Go in the first 1/8 of a mile down the stretch. Everybody knows that. Look, we've just talked about it. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. You go with Knicks Go, you put yourself in peril on him. You don't go with him, you leave him an easy lead. I think somebody will not engage with him, but they'll push themselves to where they're not 3-4, where he doesn't have an uncontested 3-4 length lead, to where they're glued on his hip.
You know, what's even more remarkable, not just the fact that he was that winner in the dirt mile, but he was second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Yeah.
You just so rarely,
right.
We've never had a horse that won the
Right.
Breeders' Cup Juvenile and came back to win the Classic. So the fact that this horse was able to be that good at 2, that brilliant in winning the mile, and now is in a position to win the Breeders' Cup Classic is just remarkable.
And he looks great, by the way. He's not too aggressive. They've taken him out, when it's quiet. It's very, very quiet out here now. He's got the draw reins on, but he's just bouncing over the track.
Kate, you were there at Churchill Downs for his last trip over that track, and now looking at him here, are you seeing much of the same thing, or are you seeing a horse who's maybe even better?
Yeah, very, very much of the same thing. He's a horse who, you look at him, he carries good flesh for as fast as he runs, and he doesn't miss an oat. He hasn't lost any weight along the way. I mean, his campaign has been very deliberate. His race is spaced out so that he has time to recover, and his workouts by design so that he doesn't do so much in the morning that he loses anything. He is a naturally fast horse, but we saw in that last workout that it was slower than, say, Essential Qualities work by design, so that he isn't leaving anything on the racetrack in the mornings, and it doesn't take a toll on him physically either. And he is definitely a horse that's in great form physically.
These are the types of horses, Todd, on Saturday. If he gets a clear lead and he's got and the splits are pretty quick, initial reaction might be, wow, I don't think he can sustain that. If he can do that with a 3-length lead, it's a lot easier than if the internal fractions are slower, but he's got a horse eyeballing him. For whatever reason, to the untrained eye, it might seem, he's going fast on his own, he's going slower when, he's got 2 horses upside him. That mentally takes more out of horses, and I think that could be his undoing.
Well, it's that phrase, it's not how fast you're going, it's how you're going fast. Yeah. And Knicks Go is very, very quick. Last time out in the Lucas Classic at Churchill, going 1 1/8 miles when he got the half mile 47-1, it was just an easy win. And if he can duplicate something along those lines, if he gets to a half and 47 and change, it's probably going to be lights out for everyone else, but I can't imagine at this level and with the field that he's up against that's going to be allowed. But Knicks Go is the horse they have to catch in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, and you're watching him live here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. We saw his stablemate, his barn buddy, Essential Quality, come out earlier today, and both grays are absolutely sitting on go. Knicks Go, part of Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. We'll be back with more right after this.
There's something about when you get up early, prep the plane, and you take off, and you get that first light of day, and the air is crystal smooth. You can see forever. You have to have the right aircraft for the right flight with the right crew up front. Only NetJets can do this. The flight dissolves into the background. It should just be the here and now.
Tomorrow, live from Del Mar, TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup continues. Expert analysis of top contenders prepare for the Breeders' Cup World Championships. TVG's daily live coverage continues tomorrow morning, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Friday, all the action begins on the TVG Breeders' Cup Players Show. In-depth analysis and handicapping angles of the 14-race two-day Breeders' Cup card. The Future Stars Friday edition of the TVG Breeders' Cup Players Show. Noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
Undefeated Grade 1 winner Mastery was a multiple graded stakes winner at 2, including this victory in the Los Alamitos Cash Call Futurity. At 3, he sizzled in the San Felipe Stakes. Now his progeny are bringing top dollar in the sales ring, and his first runners are hitting the track. Mastery, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Breeders' Cup apparel and products represent everything the Breeders' Cup stands for. Handcrafted, expertly designed. Own a piece of the events that defines an industry. Available at breederscupshop.com.
Well, 12 months ago, the man standing to my right, Kevin O'Brien, enjoyed a outstanding landmark success at the Breeders' Cup with Glass Slippers. She's back to defend her crown here, Kevin, but she's got competition from her own stable in Emirati Anna. First of all, how are the horses and how are they taking the travel over?
Yeah, they've travelled great, and it's great to be involved in the Breeders' Cup again this year, and very much looking forward to it. Glass Slippers, you know, she's a good traveller, and she's settled in great and seems really well. Different sort of discipline this year, with it being 5 furlongs rather than 5.5. Emirati Anna, he's class horse in his own right, and you know, he's fast horse, and I'm sure the track and conditions will suit him.
Yeah, he's obviously a horse that has just blossomed this season. I mean, he's been a slow burner, really, because, you know, he started his career off in 2018, but the way he's come to the fore this season has been fantastic. But you've always, to tell people, you've always believed that he was a star of the making.
Yeah, look, we've always had huge faith in him, and I think sort of a change of tactics, the way we ride him, just a bit more restraint, and rather than letting him use all his speed early in the race, he's got a great turn of foot, and since we started riding him like that, he's just gone from strength to strength.
And with Glass Slippers, the way her season has progressed, it feels like, you know, she's coming to the boil just nicely for this race. Would that be fair to assess her in that manner?
Yes, of course. She's, as everyone knows, she's a much better filly in the second half of the year. She hasn't really had conditions to suit her, you know. She does like a bit of cutting the ground, which is going to be quick ground here, I would imagine. But in France, it was way too heavy for her. So, no, I'm very much looking forward to her. She's in great form.
Is it possible for you to pick one over the other? Because, of course, they both mean a lot to you, whether it's her, the fact she gave you that win last year, or the fact that you've always believed in Emirati Anna.
Look, Emirati Anna, he loves fast ground, and he's a very, very fast horse. It's a different discipline for Glass Slippers. She can cope with the fast 5 here. I'm sure she'll run a big race. And look, she's won a Prix de l'Abbey over 5 at Longchamp, which is a very, very fast 5.
Always good to chat to you. Wish you best of luck with both runners, and I'm sure you won't care as long as you win it, right?
Lovely, thank you.
Cheers, Kevin.
So many chances of 4 foreign-based horses this year. Interest at an all-time high. Simon, is it related to the venue, or is it just the evolution of the Breeders' Cup?
Well, it's the evolution of the Breeders' Cup, but I think the venue has a lot to do with it. At face value, when you say we've got a great representation, not only international horses but Europeans, especially in California. You think, why do they want to come this far? We touched on it earlier in the week. It's the guaranteed weather. They know what they're getting. So, there's no rain going to be forecast here. It's the horses that need the soft ground, they leave at home. They can specifically hone in on the horses that want the firm ground and bring them here.
Caden, happy to have you here. I wanted to have more comments from you about Latruska, because it's been an eventful week. Much was made of the horse that joined her unexpectedly during her workout a few days ago. Your impressions of that and what we're seeing this morning at the gate for one of the best horses in the country, Latruska, heavy favorite for the Breeders' Cup Distaff.
Well, first we can see that she's doing just a little schooling work, and unlike the Europeans that we saw earlier, she's not going to pop out of the gate. I would remark to Simon that it's so interesting how differently we do things as far as schooling and preparation, even in the morning. We rarely, if ever, would see horses that have already raced in the United States actually break out of the starting gate. They would back out, as we saw Latruska do.
Yep.
Their preparation is already done. They're going to just stand so that they're comfortable and that the assistant starters can get used to them and see any idiosyncrasies, but they would always back out the back, or if anything, they would walk out the front, but they would never actually open the doors and break out of the gate if it wasn't to actually run in a work. Latruska doing everything kind of as she typically does as far as her training, although what's interesting about her, Todd, is that there's nothing typical about her. She kind of has a mind of her own. Fausto explained to me that she gets to do what she wants to do on a daily basis. A lot of times ponying is the norm for her. He doesn't do a lot with her as far as timed workouts are concerned. He doesn't want to do too much with her. And he doesn't even do that much galloping with her. A lot of times when she goes to the track, she doesn't feel like galloping, so he lets her jog. He'll let her do lighter workouts. So the fact that she's out there galloping right now, to me, seems like a very positive sign that she kind of chose to go ahead and gallop. And each time I've seen her galloping, she's looked very good and very happy on the track here at Del Mar.
Yeah, I think she appreciates these circumstances and surroundings. It's a little quieter out here than a routine racetrack morning, so not too much company, not so much to look at as far as traffic of horses. Yeah, and she looks good. But yeah, trainer's job is half equine psychiatrist more than anything, especially with a filly like that, trying to get inside their mind and figure out what makes everything work.
As to the workout, I have to tell you, though, obviously, that was the topic of conversation amongst everyone on the backstretch after the workout. And pretty much everyone had the same sentiment, which was that it wasn't what anyone would have chosen, but they all said she'll probably win anyway.
Right. And it's also no excuse if she gets beat, that workout. Exactly. You can't pinpoint it to that particular workout if she gets beat.
Latruska, the 8-5 morning line favorite for the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. We've been asking you to vote on some famous race calls at the Breeders' Cup. We put them in a bracket, and we're getting down to the final. Joaquin?
And yeah, that's the thing, Todd. We've been debating this on Twitter over the past couple of days, trying to find the best Breeders' Cup race call over the last 37 years, going back to 1984. You mentioned the brackets. We started with 16, knocked it down to 8, then we did a final 4, and now we are in the final matchup of trying to find the best Breeders' Cup race call. It is down to the 2009 Breeders' Cup Classic, which was won by Zenyatta, called by Trevor Denman, versus the 2001 Breeders' Cup Classic at Belmont Park, which was won by Tisnow and called by Tom Durkin. Let's start with Tom Durkin bringing them down the stretch at Belmont in the 2001 Classic.
Tisnow looms in second. Saki is there on the outside. Guided Tour fights on. Galileo's under a heavy drive. He's still 6 lengths behind. Include will put his run through on the rail. Aptitude is taken wide by Gander. And the field turns for home. Here comes the arc winner, Saki, and he storms to the lead. Saki a narrow lead, and Tisnow is doubling on the American Horse of the Year. And the arc winner are heads apart with a furlong to go in the Classic. On the outside, Saki, Tisnow
On the far side, Girolamo. Einsteiner's right there. Summerbird at the rail. Twice Over is next. Then Awesome Gem. Gio Ponti's behind that. Then Richard's Kid. And now here's Zenyatta. And let's see. Zenyatta has a lot of ground to make up. Zenyatta, if she wins this, she'll be a super horse. She's starting to pick them off, though. Zenyatta going to hook to the outside. Meanwhile, it's Colonel John. Summerbird in the red cap. And Zenyatta's come to the outside. Zenyatta coming flying on the grandstand side. Gio Ponti on the inside. Summerbird is right there. This is unbelievable. Zenyatta, what a performance. One we'll never forget. Looked impossible, but it is Zenyatta still unbeaten under Mike Smith. Gio Ponti second, Summerbird, and then Richard's Kid. What a dramatic performance. One of the most sensational ever.
Oh, that's two of the most legendary race calls in Breeders' Cup history. In 2001, with Tom Durkin calling "Tis Now" to win back-to-back Breeders' Cup Classics, and then you heard one of Trevor Dedman's best race calls ever right there, the 2009 Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita with Zenyatta beating the boys that day. Get involved on Twitter. The Twitter handle is going to be @TVG. As I look at the percentages here, the 2009 Classic right now has 66% of the vote, and the 2001 Breeders' Cup Classic has 34% of the vote. So once again, get involved on Twitter @TVG and make sure you use the hashtag TVG bracket. Right now, we're going to send it to Michelle Yu. She is roaming the backside here at Del Mar. And Michelle, it's my understanding it's a spa day for you.
It's definitely a spa day, Joaquin, for anywhere between 5 and 20 horses a morning, but not for me. I don't do cold water, and that's exactly where we are right now. We are at the cold water spa. If you watched yesterday, we talked about some of the ways that the therapies that our equine athletes get really mirror things like football players and soccer players. So here we are at the saltwater spa. The temperature here gets down to 36 degrees, and there's like a turbulator down at the bottom, so there's some massaging jets down below. The horses walk into here, they stay in for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then they back out and go on their merry way. Some horses visit the spa every single day. They're the lucky ones. They must have very nice patrons. And this is a great way to help relieve any additional inflammation and just keep those legs nice and cold, which is always what we're looking for with a racehorse. So visiting the spa here on the backside, lots of pampering going on for our Breeders' Cup horses, Mike.
Michelle, thank you very much. It's about to get ridiculous over here. Ridiculous Gasmanian Stable. You may have noticed that is the owner line of Tough to Tame in the Breeders' Cup. Juvenile. He's ridiculous. He's a Gasmanian Devil. So this is Ryan Ritt, Jeff Gasner. They put the names together and had a little fun with it. I'm going to start with Jeff because this was really interesting. You were telling me you haven't been in this game too long, but you're 2 for 2 getting to the Breeders' Cup. How is that so?
Well, I think it's getting the right barn and trainer in position and getting the right team in place, and the rest just falls into place once you get the right team. Yep.
So who'd you come out here with, or did you go to the Breeders' Cup with last year?
Windy City Red. We were in the Sprint Juvenile last year, and made our appearance, and we got tucked in a little tight off the gate, but had a good run, and we got high hopes this year.
So the other principal, Ryan Ritt, joining me right here. So how long have you been a racehorse owner, and how did you get into this game?
So I've been an owner for 6 years now. Grew up at Arlington Racetrack. My mom worked there, so growing up I'd be there a couple times a week, seeing the horses train, meeting owners, meeting the trainers, just getting involved. And I said one day I'm going to own a horse, and that happened 6 years ago. So now I've had 8 horses. This is our second breeder's appearance, so it's fun. We're having a good time. Yeah.
Up against it, you are a long shot in the Juvenile. You've drawn to the outside with Tough to Tame. But tell me about your trainer, Chris Davis, the process of getting here and the decision to say, you know what, let's take a shot.
So Chris, we rely on Chris. His communication is great, and that's key in this game, is having someone you trust and someone who's going to communicate, let you know what's going on, and that's what he does, and he does a great job. He's hands-on. Sophie Doyle is a real good friend of ours who rides her heart out every single race. So we're really excited about, who we have in place for this race and the horse we have. He knows how to run. He knows how to get it done. He hasn't been anything worse than second yet. So we're hoping that's the case on Friday.
Look, it's Chi-Town representing here, Simon Bray, as we go back to you. He's been at 8 horses, 2 in the Breeders' Cup. He's 2 for 2 with horses in the Breeders' Cup. Easy game.
Go. All right, thanks very much, Mike. Yeah, we'll bring it back here to the set just on the infield here at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club, and we'll go to our daily segment here of the Trainers Chart just to bring you up to speed if you're watching for the first time. This is like a daily planner, a monthly planner of how the trainers plan out and plot the course of a horse leading into the race. Very basic, very rudimentary. It's just like a book. They write the notation in. We've taken a snapshot for you at home. 6 quality horses here, high-level horses that we've plotted their course dating all the way back to show 1 on Friday and give you a little idea of what it looks like. Essential Quality, of course, one of the favorites for the Classic, galloped. And this is familiar with most trainers. What they'll do is they'll work 5/8 ahead of a day of shipping. That way they take the edge off the horse. They're going to have a down day anyway when they're shipping via plane or van, and then usually come back on the track the next day. So they shipped on Monday. Essential Quality, Knicks Go. We saw them jog for Essential Quality. Knicks Go galloped. Hot Rod Charlie's been down here. We watched him work. He walked the day after working. Gallop, gallop, gallop. I would imagine those G's will continue all the way through the rest of the week. Medina Spirit, he had to work earlier, back up at Santa Anita. So he jogged with the pony, then he shipped, then we saw him this morning. Jackie's Warrior just jogged after an easy workout a couple of days ago, and Latruska, who we saw moments ago, just galloping as well. So it's kind of like painting by numbers. We're filling in the blocks as we go. Just 2 more days left, and we hope just all the right notations here. Want to see a lot of G's and a lot of J's. That's just a small snapshot, but the trainers on the backside, though, like Kenny McPeak at Churchill Downs, got a big stable, over 40, 50 horses. And look, this is how he manages his training chart. He has to put it up on a wall. It's so big. He doesn't have the book. We saw Brad Cox with the book, and that just goes to show you the intense detail. And everything on that chart might go from race day, you know, the dates of the races, to the workout dates, to the shoeing dates, to the dental dates. They keep a log of that, and that is all well kept by trainer Kenny McPeak back at Churchill Downs, Todd.
Simon Bray with his trainer's chart, and thanks to you being in Kentucky, giving us some of those trainer's charts. We saw Brad Cox's, and then he was working with the laptop. You know, that's the other thing. Technology has helped trainers a lot. We still have the dry erase board, obviously, but having other conveniences have really helped out trainers.
Well, it definitely has been changing the technology and the way that they do things, for sure. But it's interesting to me that at the end of the day, the majority of the trainers you'll find still go old school. They still have a book, or, as you saw, a chart on the wall, and they still mark it every day. And it makes it a little bit easier when they have to change things around, to not have to log onto the computer and get involved in everything else. Also makes it easier to disseminate the information to the rest of the crew who are in and out all day long as they're setting the tack for the next group of horses. Because that's the key with it. It's not just for the trainers to keep track of the information, but it's for the rest of the crew to be able to know what's coming up with each set, to keep the operation humming along. Because remember, all that work happens over the course of about 4 or 5 hours in the morning.
TVG is bringing all of its considerable technological resources to bear to the Breeders' Cup, and you are going to benefit. Download the Watch TVG app and experience the Breeders' Cup like never before with exclusive multicast coverage on the Watch TVG app. You can watch TVG's multicast coverage features, jockey cameras for every race, contender cameras following each horse from the paddock to the starting gate, a multi-camera view featuring the player show and alternate angles, and even more. Best of all, it's absolutely free when you log in with your TVG account, or you can sign up for a 7-day trial. But again, just download on your Roku, Amazon Fire TV, or Apple TV, your connected device or smart TV, to unlock an exclusive Breeders' Cup experience on the Watch TVG app. When we come back here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, you'll be watching a special feature to tell you about George Leonard III, who's about to have a seminal moment in his life and in his training career with California Angel at the Breeders' Cup.
When a new wave calls, you answer. When adventure calls, you answer. When the surf calls, you paddle out. When sunsets call, you find the best view. When the sand in your toes calls, you put more sand between them. When the ocean calls, you wave hello. Because when happiness calls, you answer. San Diego Happiness is calling you back.
PNC Bank believes that if a pair of goggles can help your backhand get better, then your bank should help you budget even better. Virtual Wallet is so much more than a checking account. Its low cash mode feature gives you at least 24 hours of extra time to help you avoid an overdraft fee.
Do you see that?
Virtual Wallet with low cash mode from PNC Bank. One way we're making a difference.
What constitutes a great sire? Results.
It's Promise Keeper on the inside, and Promise Keeper has won the Peter Pan.
Versatility.
'Tis the law. He's left the others behind. 'Tis the law.
A foundation for the future.
Major General digs down deep. Here's the wire. It's going to be close. Major General got it.
Constitution has it all.
With the TVG app, get expert analysis and free handicapping advice from here. Place a bet in just a few simple taps from here. And even stream races live from here. Access, analysis, and action from anywhere. Get cash back for finishing second or third on all Breeders' Cup races. TVG. Onto the app. Off to the races.
Welcome back, everybody. Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup continues here on TVG. It was just a few weeks ago when California Angel won the Grade 2 Jessamine at Keeneland Racecourse and punched her ticket to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. She is by California Chrome, and we are very familiar with him. He's a two-time Horse of the Year. Her jockey is Rafael Bejarano, and he's a five-time Breeders' Cup winner. But who is her trainer? Here is more on George Leonard III.
I train horses because it's my passion. I could do 1,000 other things to make more money, but this is what I love to do. My name is George Leonard III. I train California Angels. I was born in Chicago, Illinois. Both of my parents are from Louisiana, so they moved back to Louisiana. We kept a few horses. We were like weekend warriors. We started off doing a lot of brush track racing around Louisiana. And then we ventured up into Evangeline Downs, Delta Downs, and, you know, we did that most of our lives. That's what we did. We just hustled from racetrack to racetrack. My mom always liked to call me String Bean because growing up I was tall and skinny, which I was not a big fan of, but still, she always thought that was funny to call me String Bean. My dad loved his horses. That was our passion, you know. We had the horses, and my dad was about 5'10". My dad was a very muscular, tough guy. Worked hard. I'd like to believe I'm just like my dad. My dad passed away a few years ago in a car wreck, but we had a really good life, raised by good parents. I've never had a 2-year-old that's been more focused and more professional. You wouldn't know that she's 2 years old. I mean, everything about her is all business. She was just one that I liked. I hoped I could afford to get. I'd have probably went up to 15 to 20, and I probably would have stopped there. But I was shocked that she stopped as early as she did. My wife was ecstatic. She was like, I can't believe you got that one for that cheap. I was like, me either. $5,500. $5,500.
And they're off in the J.P. Morgan Chase Jessamine Stakes.
Halfway down the backside, I thought we were sitting perfect. When they straightened up for home, I was getting a little nervous, a little anxious. I was like, hurry up, hurry. She's got to get to moving here. And then I started leaning with the wire. I was like, hurry, honey, hurry, hurry, hurry.
California Angel running late. Diamond Well, Turner loose. California Angel coming on the far outside at the wire. Photo for the win.
I saw her win, but, you know, you still got to wait for the photo. But in my mind, I honestly saw that she got up in time. I'm so happy, and it's hard to believe that this is happening to me. You know, we really won. You got to remember, cowboys can't cry, so I can't let no tear come down. You know, I got to hold my breath and stand tall, you know. But, you know, it's just the emotions are overwhelming. Can't forget the queen. Yes. Or there'll be no king. Yes. If I were to get lucky and win a Breeders' Cup race, it'd be, I'm sure, ecstatic as it was to win the Jessamine. But the most important thing is I'll have
whole lot of my family there, you know, to share it with my family. It's a whole different stage, and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
I think everybody here in the grandstand at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club is going to be rooting for trainer George Leonard III and California Angel. I'm back here at the barn for California Angel. I swear she was right behind me when we started this segment here. And, oh, there she is. There she is. Now she's going to go ahead and poke her head out of her stall. She had a little bit of travel delays coming in from her home base at Indiana Ground yesterday. She didn't get into town until late night yesterday evening, about 10 or 11 o'clock. We saw her on the track earlier this morning as well. And Todd, when I was talking to the owners a couple weeks ago at Indiana Grand, when I had a chance to sit down with George Leonard III, they told me that the way that she got her name is, well, she is by California Chrome, but before she even debuted, George Leonard kept telling the owners that she's just an angel. She's just an absolute angel to be around. Everything she does is so easy. She's just an angel around the barn. They went ahead and merged those two things together, and that's how you get California Angel, who unfortunately, Todd, got post 14 in a field of 14 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf on Friday, but it's absolutely one of the feel-good stories coming into this year's Breeders' Cup.
Well, when you look back at the Root and Riddle post-position draw yesterday, those who are around the industry are a while are like, oh, it's a post-position draw, let's get through this. That's not the case for George Leonard III. As he said, I'm enjoying every minute. It's the same for Fausto Gutierrez, who trains Latruska. He was interviewed afterwards, and he said, I used to watch this on TV and never dreamed I could be here. So when you hear those sentiments, George Leonard III with California Angel and Fausto Gutierrez with Latruska, and again, it brings back the magic of what this event is about.
We have to stop and think that there are people who grow up in this sport dreaming of having a good horse, not a Breeders' Cup horse. You just dream of having a good horse. I mean, George Leonard had never won a graded stakes race prior to California Angel. So, yes, you think that, all of us think that one day we'll be on the big stage, but the idea of having a horse in the Breeders' Cup, much less a horse like California Angel that has a chance in the Breeders' Cup, is something that you write movies about. That is what the Breeders' Cup was made for, and that is what dreams are made of.
And to your point, it's not just the race. At that point, it becomes the week leading up to it, the events surrounding it. I remember when I ran a horse, the one horse I ran in the Kentucky Derby. I mean, I was, I was like a deer in headlights. I mean, that week. But people have been there year in, year out. It's like, oh, it's the trainer's dinner, it's the draw. But I was enlightened by all of it. It's the same for George Leonard.
We know they're enjoying their week leading up to the Breeders' Cup. All the connections here, and we wish them the very best. We have more coming up on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup from the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club, hosting the Breeders' Cup this Friday and Saturday.
Here in Pennsylvania, we're proud of our breeding program, the best in North America. But we're also proud to be leaders in this industry. The PA Horse Breeders Association is funding cutting-edge research at Penn Vet into equine health and safety. And we endorse the SAFE Act to help protect the most vulnerable horses. Plus, we're pleased to support the aftercare programs set up by our horsemen's groups. Just a few of the reasons why you should join us in Pennsylvania, the premier place to breed and race.
You know this type of place. You might even work in one. Hot, sweaty, uncomfortable. But it doesn't have to be that way. Big-ass fans keep you cool, comfortable, and productive in any type of space. So no matter where you are, think big. Get cool.
Introducing the Equibase app with all new features, including Smart Pick, smart handicapping made easy. Choose your track, choose your race, and then go to Smart Pick.
Select your level of risk, the size of your wager, and which of these 3 strategies you want to emphasize. SmartPick will then tailor your very own selection and bet amount. It couldn't be easier. SmartPick, one of the exciting new features in the Equibase app. Download it free of charge today.
Written into the stars and into man's earliest recorded stories is a bond that has endured over millennia. That between human and horse. The die was cast when a tentative hand was held out to the first curious ancestor of the modern thoroughbred. Today, up and down America's shed rows, before even the early bird has gotten his worm, an army of devoted soldiers quietly rub the sleep from their eyes as an exhibition of friendly faces bid them good morning. Theirs is a job that runs a gamut of skills. Part strongman, hoisting back-breaking bale and barrow. Part physician, their 6 senses attuned to imperceptible signs. Part counselor, they're always to encourage. And why do they do it? Sure, the sweet thrill of victory is intoxicating. Really not why they wrench themselves from warm comfort into the cool, shadowy husk of early morning. It's human nature, yearning for companionship built on mutual trust and respect. This is the groom. Teacher, friend.
Groom, such an important part of our racing industry over here. I'm actually standing by Dallas Stewart, and his groom Octavian has worked for you for 20 years, you said.
Yeah, 20 years, going strong.
That's crazy. It's great to have the relationships, and he obviously good hand here. He's standing with Dallas's Breeders' Cup starter, Sequest. Dallas, I heard that you loved this horse right away at the sale, that she reminded you of Unbridled Forever.
Actually, it was Forever Unbridled, her sister. So, I mean, I just fell in love with her, and the mare is by a horse that I trained for Overbrook that I really love, named Flanders Fields. He was by A.P. Indy. And so, I mean, I just loved her as an individual, and she's got us here so far. We'll see what happens.
Dallas, you're kind of known for springing the upset with big price horses. How does she stack up in that tradition that you've held?
Well, she's credible. I mean, she was third. She was running strong on the end. If she wouldn't have went a little wide on the final turn, she might have been second, but it's just one of them things. So hopefully it'll all come together for $2 million on Friday.
She's come from really far back. Do you know right away if a horse is going to be a deep closer like that, or at what point does that develop?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I had like Lemons Forever. She was way back in the Oaks. It's kind of scary, to be honest with you, when they're way back there. Sometimes they stay back there. But she's turned it on late. Hopefully she won't be too far back. You can't be on this track, I don't think so. We'll just have to see. Hopefully she'll be in range at the quarter pole.
All right. Thanks so much, Dallas.
Thank you.
Dallas Stewart, Sequest, and Octavian, guys.
Simon, what's your biggest fantasy? Don't answer that.
I don't want to go there.
FanDuel is giving you a chance to turn a fantasy into reality, and that is, if you're a Breeders' Cup fan, we're giving you a free shot at $1 million. Imagine winning $1 million by picking the correct order of finish in the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile presented by the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund. You can play for free. Again, a free chance at $1 million. You play for free at FanDuel.com or on the FanDuel Fantasy app. Turn your fantasy into a $1 million reality. There is still tickets available to 2 championship days of racing, this Friday and Saturday here at Del Mar. To find out what tickets are available, go to BreedersCup.com. We've got your ticket behind the scenes here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. We'll be back right after this.
Turn your love of racing into savings with equine discounts through the NTRA. Purchase through equine discounts and receive great savings on well-known brands like John Deere, Sherwin-Williams, Big Ass Fans, Farmers Insurance, and Office Depot. Join thousands of other equine members and support companies that give back to the sport we all love. Call 866-678-4289 or visit equinediscounts.com to start saving today.
Tomorrow, live from Del Mar, TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup continues. Expert analysis of top contenders prepare for the Breeders' Cup World Championships. TVG's daily live coverage continues tomorrow morning, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Friday, all the action begins on the TVG Breeders' Cup Players Show. In-depth analysis and handicapping angles of the 14-race two-day Breeders' Cup card. The Future Stars Friday edition of the TVG Breeders' Cup Players Show. Noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
There's something about when you get up early, prep the plane, and you take off, and you get that first light of day, and the air is crystal smooth. You can see forever. You have to have the right aircraft for the right flight with the right crew up front. Only NetJets can do this. The flight dissolves into the background. It should just be the here and now.
A three-horse race as they turn for home in the big one. Hard spun, but Curlin is breathing down his neck. Street Sense literally scraping the paint, but Curlin strikes the front, and Curlin is powerhousing home. Hard spun, Street Sense did not go on, and it's all Curlin in the race of the year. For horse of the year, it's Curlin in an absolutely stylish performance.
That was the 2007 Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, and you want to talk about a stallion-making race that year. He also had Hard Spun in there. That was a great field, a field with depth, and many have the anticipation that 2021 will live up to the predecessors in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. And we are going to now get you the latest news and analysis for the biggest race of the 2 days. It's our Longines Breeders' Cup Classic report, starting with Christina Blacker.
Todd, thank you. Yes, with regard to the two horses that I have been keeping a close eye on, Medina Spirit did gallop today. Again, just shipped in very, very early yesterday, so was able to hit a gallop this afternoon. And then this morning, I should say. Tripoli galloped as well. I spoke to Juan Leyva, the assistant for John Sadler. Went very early. First set, it was dark. We weren't able to get a camera on Tripoli, but did gallop this morning as well. I'll steal a little bit of the Kentucky Thunder here with Nick's Go, just because I was out there on track and able to watch him on the pony. Strong as ever. I had a chance to have a word with his exercise rider as they were walking off the track. He said, my arms are shaking a little bit, but that's normal. He feels good. And he did stand for a few seconds towards the end of his work, which is a very good thing for him to kind of gather himself up, show that class and composure, and just stand on the track for a few seconds before heading back to the barn. Michelle, how about the horses that you've been keeping an eye on?
Well, Christina, one of those horses is Express Train. He made his way down to Del Mar yesterday, and I got a brief glimpse of him having a very spirited gallop today on the racetrack. I thought he looked good from my vantage point, if a little bit on the warm side for him as well. So did get to see him out, and also Stiletto Boy, we got to see him work. So he put in a work a little bit closer to the big day than we generally see. The time for that somewhere between the official time of 50 and change and Kent DeSormo's watch, which was 51 and change there. So a nice, easy half-mile move for the Ed Moger trainee Stiletto Boy. Joaquin, what about your horses?
Well, Shell, one of the 3-year-olds in the Classic is Hot Rod Charlie. He had a 7-furlong workout in 1:26.4 the other day. He walked immediately after that 24 hours later, and then since that time, we've just seen him galloping on the main track with Lava Man right here at Del Mar. Art collector for Hall of Famer Bill Mott, looking to give Bill Mott his 3rd Breeders' Cup Classic victory. He had a workout in 4 furlongs and 48.2 the other day right here at Del Mar, and then he had a gallop today on the main track after his walk day. He galloped today about 1.25 miles on the main track for Art Collector. And lastly, Max Player for Steve Asmussen. He was the lone Classic worker yesterday on Monday. Typical Steve Asmussen drill coming into the Classic. 4 furlongs and 50 flat for Max Player. He walked today. Expect him to jog tomorrow for Steve Asmussen, who also seeks his 3rd Breeders' Cup Classic victory. So, Todd, that is the latest update, or Scott, rather, that is the latest update for my 3 Breeders' Cup Classic contenders.
Joaquin, Brad Cox with his 2 gray Classic favorites, starting with Essential Quality, who went out a little bit earlier than we thought he would. And Brad said that the reason he did that is he didn't think he was going to be able to get here in time and get him out before the first break, but he was able to. So he jogged him a mile. He says that he's a horse that is so easygoing that he'll actually train him on race day as well. And then for Nick's Go, he galloped a mile later on in the morning, as you all saw here on the Breeders' Cup Breakfast Show. And he was scheduled to jog him today, but then that would mean he would have to gallop him tomorrow. So Todd, Kate, and Simon, he says that these 2 horses are so different. If he jogs Nick's Go on back-to-back days, he is so aggressive going into that 3rd day that he had to gallop him here today. But he knows both of these horses. He knows what they need to do, and he's adjusted on the fly with Essential Quality and Nick's Go, the 2 Breeders' Cup favorites out of the Brad Cox barn.
Scott, excellent work today. Thank you very much, and thank you for bringing one of your best friends in the world, Rishi. He was a wonder today with the insight. What about those last comments from Scott? Can a horse be too over the top in the morning that they lose it before race time?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you keep him, it's just like a boiling cauldron. If you keep the top on, the lid on, that thing's just going to explode. At some point, you've got to lift the lid, let out some steam so it can keep boiling. That's what he's doing with Nick's Go. A horse like that, you jog 2-3 days in a row. Very hard to control them, not only on the track, Caton, but more importantly when they get back to the barn, they're just as fresh.
And I think what you're looking for are changes, Todd. Sometimes horses that are mild-mannered that suddenly get increasingly geared up, that can be a sign that maybe they are over the top. But Nick's Go is always sitting on go. This is his way of being and going. So if he continues in the same manner with a little bit getting eased out up to race time, we're in good shape. I would mention that Edwin Vargas is the exercise rider here. He is the only one who made the trip, so he's getting on all of Brad's horses. He's the regular rider for Essential Quality at home, but this is a change as Hugo is usually aboard him at home.
And real quick, logistically, if Forrest bringing the help, they weren't allowed to travel on those FedEx planes that we talked about. Typically, barn help can maybe get a ride or a lift.
Really now? No, we have like a minute left.
Those employees could typically travel on the Tex Sutton plane. That wasn't the case, Todd.
Well, I feel something bubbling up, and it's about to blow, but it has more with me sitting here at this desk for about 3 straight hours without a bathroom break. So that's how we're going to end today's show. But we will be back tomorrow on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, still counting down to Friday, and we'll see a lot of those European horses that came out today come back out again tomorrow. We hope you have enjoyed the insight from our team, taking you behind the scenes leading up to the 38th renewal of the Breeders' Cup World Championships, coming here to the second time to the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. This has been a lot of fun, and we still have more fun ahead. Join us tomorrow on Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Time, 10 Eastern Time, for Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup on America's Horse Racing Network, TVG.